Oh, hey,
Fleet.
Legan showed up right when I hit the live button. Good timing. If that were Dance Dance Revolution, you would score a marvelous for matching those frame rates so well.
He's
All
not
right.
responding.
I have 0 concurrent viewers, man. There was a couple people waiting, and I guess I loitered a little bit, but I'm gonna spam.
Loitered.
I'm gonna spam my link around because it bothers me that like I've noticed I talk about some of the most interesting things on the streams very early up front, right? But I shouldn't do that. I should save them, and other streamers play
so well.
they play music to buffer it out, right? There we go. Actually, I'm gonna play this ridiculous video I found on Facebook. It's literally 10 seconds long of this woman freaking out and coughing on this man, because they told her at the restaurant they had little placards on like half of the tables to say don't sit at this table. We're gonna stagger everybody sitting right every other table, right? And she was like, "Fuck you. That's a bunch of bullshit." Right? It just sat there anyway, and then this guy tells her, "Hey, you can't do that," and this is her response. So I guess we could call this the emotional intelligence highlight. Yeah, the emotional intelligence highlight of the stream. But we're also gonna have other opportunities for things that might fit that category. So we'll see.
My God, she looks interesting.
She looks like the character Sherilyn Barnes is playing, but like she's unironically that person.
Right.
Hey!
It's just it's that video. She just runs like goes and he goes, "Hey!" This was in Sydney. It was in a bar in Sydney, I guess.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna play it one more time. Now, okay, I have it plugged into my headphones, so I think it should still be picking up my desktop audio. So I'm pretty sure anybody will still be able to hear it.
Hey! Did she just try to cough on somebody?
Yeah, she was angry at him, which is like, this is a theme. There's many, many videos like this.
But that's not even a cough, man. It's
a performance. It's a performance. Yeah, she's making a statement of the fact that she can cough. And then I don't know if you guys see this on the screen now, but the next... Actually, this is one I'm definitely saving. I can't tell if it's satire or not. We're going to play America's favorite game. Is it satire? But it's the Belgium health minister puts ban on non-essential sexual activities of persons 3 or greater in indoor areas.
It actually turned out to be fake, but I just love whenever someone brings her up. I mean...
Oh, is that one fake? Okay, I guess it was like, too goddamn funny to not be... God damn it. Oh, you ruined it, man.
I'm sorry.
Her face looks terrifying.
It's awful. It's the stuff of nightmares.
I just love when people bring her up because she's the health minister.
Yeah, I know.
Look at that thing. Look at that thing.
I've seen Belgium waffles that look healthier. Like, sorry, that was awful. That was a terrible joke. I apologize. But I'll just scan through the different articles I have. I also have this one, which is to combat sexual assault, women are resorting to electric shock underwear. But like, look at this fucking cool ass banner they got. This like crazy futurist shit. This fucking Rachel Haywire ass noise. Of these like creepy robot looking women of all races and like electric cyber fucking halos and shit. Like I want this future, but all these women have penises.
Okay, now I can see it.
I ask so little.
Yeah, I can see it now. Yeah.
Okay, so I have my link. Oh, that's right. I was gonna spam the link around just a little bit.
I just hope that the one in the middle is like Photoshop. I don't want to live in a world where people look like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's obvious. It's.
I've seen worse, but yeah.
In terms of like fake people.
Right. Yeah. And in terms of real people, like people with hideous deformities and so on.
Also, I'm really proud of myself. I have a PSA over the top of the screen. It says, stretch your dick. So, that's just right there. Whole stream. Bam. So nobody forgets. That's just right there.
Right.
It's even spelled correctly.
It's even spelled correctly. Yeah, better than average. Better than average for me. I guess I guess I'll make it. I don't know why I tweet things, because I don't. I like to use Twitter as kind of like a news website, because it's like easy to find shit and easy to find people who will like dispute things if they don't seem reputable. Like the comment section on Twitter is always open. So let's see. Oh yeah, and then the other ones we have. I have a few ones that are related to COVID. There was this woman, Mevreen Ferrucci, talking about how this is all gendered. And then Charles in my Discord sent me this like proper health org thing confirming it's gendered towards men, which is like of course it is. Like this Joe Biden clip everyone's been making fun of. And then there's a few that I just saw this morning about, I guess, the U.S., like, the Navy launched missiles as a warning to China.
A Pennsylvania supermarket destroyed more than $35,000 in food after a woman coughed all over it. A co-owner of Garrity Supermarket.
And then there's the story about a woman coughing all over things in the supermarket, and they had to destroy $35,000 worth of food.
Did she do it on purpose?
She did it as a prank, yeah.
Oh my god. Like, oh god, they should have just killed her.
I know, right? That's what I know. And then people think, oh my god, that's so draconian. Like,
yeah, like you should be able to just kill people for doing stuff like that.
Yeah, like what redemption is there?
Yeah.
What redemption is there? And then I have these stories about Madonna. I guess Madonna lost her mind. I don't know if you know this, but pop singers tend to be like insane, like celebrities in general. And now that they're just like they're stuck in their homes and they have to like find crazy new ways to attention whore. And usually that's just doing what Greta Thunberg did, which is pretending to have corona for like an afternoon. It was like later that day. She's like, oh, I had the sniffles and now I'm better.
I love how people have just christened it Corona. It's funny.
Yeah, it's the king. It's the king of everything. Also, I'm gonna play this Lego City clip, this Lego City in China clip, because it's funny.
I'm really confused when people say Madonna lost her mind recently. When didn't that happen like in the 80s or 90s?
No, I know. That was just a 20-second like little Lego City. A man is sick in Lego City, China. They posted this at the end of January, so that aged well. Now it's the opposite. Now China's fine, and then the West is fucking getting their comeuppance. I have this quote from this person, Fran Lebowitz, who I was unaware of, and if you guys can see the screen, or if you can see if I had sent it to you before, can you guess, is this a man or a woman? Like, what do you think? We're gonna play an interactive game. Is this a man or a woman? And you can't Google Fran Lebowitz. That's cheating.
Oh, well, I assume it probably is a woman because Fran...
No, Fran is technically gender neutral. Fran is technically a gender neutral name. Yeah. Yeah, this is what happens is all of the names get stolen by women. It's not fair. Paulo says slightly more professional stream. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. I worked really hard.
It kind of looks like a male face, like they have a huge lower third, like a huge chin.
Yeah, well, when I saw this, I assumed it was a man, and I moved on with my life. And then,
Right.
and then Toto has sent it back to me and mentioned like, "Oh, I can't believe she's saying this." And I was like, "The fuck do you mean she? That's clearly a man." And then I Googled it, and it turns out this is a woman. This is a woman, and
Lol.
oh my god, and she's. I'm gonna pull up her fucking Wikipedia really quick because it's
That's
so stereotypical and awful. I hate it so much.
so tragic on so many levels. Like, I probably look more feminine. I definitely look more feminine.
You definitely look more feminine. Francis
Hell,
Ann
even I look
Leibowitz.
even I look more feminine.
We
than her.
all look more feminine than her. Like, by our powers combined. Anyway, she's...
I don't even have to shave to look more feminine than her.
Yeah.
Jesus fucking
Yeah, I've
Christ.
seen bearded ladies that are hotter. But Francis Ann Leibowitz is an American author, public speaker, and occasional actor. Leibowitz is known for her sardonic social commentary on American life as filtered through her New York City sensibilities. Just, like, everything about her. Oh, do you want to guess what her political views are? Let me guess. Oh, identifies as a liberal Democrat, of course, and a vociferous critic of the Republican Party, and more recently of President Donald Trump. Can you imagine? Can you even imagine? Like how? Guess what? She's a lesbian
Leibowitz,
too. Did you know?
Leibowitz, I'm
She's
just
a
looking at
lesbian. I know.
Leibowitz describes her Jewish identity as ethnic or cultural or whatever, but not religious.
Yep, exactly. She's one of those atheist kind. Who
Yeah,
I've
but
learned
that's
many of the
part-
religious Jews like can't stand. Like they hate that shit. Like
So
the
the lesbian
Messianic
part is
style. Yeah.
so weird. When people like that say that they're lesbian, like for them heterosexuality was never an option. Like,
Well, I don't know though, because I just feel like if anyone's gonna bang her, it's gonna be like a real desperate man. Like I just feel like if you're a woman, you have so many other options.
Women
that
have
is also
infinite
true.
infinite dating options, so like, yeah, she's fine. I've literally seen experiments where like they put up profiles of 80-odd-year-old women on Tinder and they're able to get young guys to fuck them. It's pretty funny.
Oh, I mean, old ladies are cute. Old ladies are cute, and they can have a good personality. They got lots of stories, you know. Like I could see the appeal, you know.
I'm not
I
even
would-
going to comment on that.
I would wonder if that's actually just thirsty dudes looking for a lay, or if it's actually if they actually have game when it comes to finding a spouse or a relationship partner.
Well, the hell of it is like, so yeah, like Tinder's basically just a casual sex thing, probably for most of those guys. Like the ones who are willing to fuck 80-year-olds, like they're probably not looking to start serious relationships with them. Like the young, good-looking guys, but I don't know, normie guys, like 5 or 6 out of 10 in looks, maybe, who are say around middle-aged. Yeah, probably. Like, as in they could probably secure serious relationships with those guys. More insane things have happened. But like,
That's
yeah.
true. Like on these platforms, you kind of have to be 8 out of 10 or more to
As a man, yeah.
really have your pick. Otherwise, I assume you just take what you can get.
And I do
Yeah.
have something that's relevant to this to bring up, I guess, after this here. Although interestingly, in the chat, Cartohead, who I think I recognize you. I think I recognize your name, so I think I actually know who you are. From like MRA circles, but it says that he saw her in person and got her autograph, which is kind of interesting. I mean, I don't know anything about her writing. We're just ripping on her looks, but like this quote specifically pissed me off, which is why I decided to point it out, where she wrote, "Trump allows people to express their racism and bigotry in a way that they haven't been able to in quite a while, and they really love him for that. It's a shocking thing to realize people love their hatred more than they care about their own actual lives." Now, I read that as a fucking death threat. I don't think maybe she doesn't necessarily mean it that way, but that really, to me, I don't know, it came off as like too honest, because that's just the attitude of the anti-racist, that they can't just like let people be racist and have thoughts that they don't like, right? They have to persecute the wrong thing, and they have to use it as an excuse to literally kill people. Literally, if you're a racist, fuck you. You don't get to live. Like, I just thought that quote just encapsulates it so perfectly.
There's like this joke going around that any time a black person kills a white person in the United States from now on, they're just going to use the excuse that the white person used the N-word, and then they're going to be let off completely scot-free. Like, they're probably not even going to go to jail. Fucking seriously.
Well, and that's the thing, though, is that, like, I'll be watching, like, Tree of Logic streams, right? Where there'll be, like, a fight or whatever, and she's like, oh, I wonder why they're fighting. And then people will be telling her, like, oh, he said the N-word. She's, oh, he said the N-word. He knew that was coming, right? Which is, like, she might clarify that she doesn't mean to condone it, right? It's just taken as, like, a given. And I'm just like, why is that a given? Like, do we need to, like have, like, a social... Like, honestly, if we want to have, like racial sensitivity training, you should sit black people down and, like, put them in a room where they have to hear the N-word over and over again, and they have to, like, we, like, monitor their blood pressure, and if it gets too high, we say, I'm sorry, like, you can't be you're a danger to society, because, like, you're gonna mishear something, you're gonna mishear a two-syllable word, and you're gonna, like, turn into the fucking Hulk and start beating someone up for no reason. And I'm just like, this is like a legitimate liability to society.
By the way, I've looked up a photograph. I'll send it to you on Discord of Fran Lebowitz from when she was young, and she looks even more like a man in pictures of her from when she was young.
She kind of looks like the puppet from the Saw movies.
Oh god, it's really not flattering.
But yeah, the thinly veiled threat thing, like, it kind of sounds like these people knew that they live in a time and age where if you utter something that goes against the narrative, you will face physical punishment. Like, you don't care about your lives if you do.
Yeah,
right.
And I mean, I want to believe that it's like she's trying to say that, that she's, like, speaking to like people who could perceivably, like, be victims of it, right? Is that, like, oh, this hatred that you're feeding will come back for you, right? Like, that's a narrative she could direct at me. She'll say, oh, well, you're just all on board with Trump, and that the evil homophobia is gonna come and get you. Which, like, that was always, like, the most, like, silly and toothless accusation. But you know what I mean? Like I want to believe that's what was meant by it, rather than, like, no, we're literally gonna kill you for being racist because reasons. Hey, Kevin, how are you doing?
Hey, so who are we talking about?
We're talking about Fran Lebowitz. We're being very rude. It's a reoccurring theme on the streams where we stumbled into the lesbian question. I swear to God, I don't seek it out. It just finds me.
Okay, so what about the lesbian question? What's...
Oh, just so often we go to the bottom of things, and there's always just, like, a shiesty lesbian at the bottom of it all. And then we're sitting here like, how come? Like, why is it every single time? So she's had this quote basically saying, if you're one of Trump's racists, then you're gonna get what's coming to you. She stated it in a much more artful way. You see, she's a writer, a New York writer, an atheist Jew named Lebowitz, who's also a lesbian and looks like this. Like I just how. But anyway, I think we've beaten this one to death, and we have at least one fan in the chat. So we'll be a little. Well, I guess we'll move on to the next thing. Because I got like 20 tabs open still. Oh, guys, also... Oh, sorry, what were you going to say before I totally move on?
I kind of like that you went to beating this one to death because of the beating the horse to death.
Yeah, right. We're just...
Horse,
we're really throwing the unicorn off the roof, okay? Like... So me and Claire Kaw are friends now, and she keeps messaging me about how she's harassing Mike Buchanan, and I told her to stop, and I think she's gonna stop. But I told her I was gonna read the Quran. So I decided that I'm going to read the Quran by just going to this random Quranic verse generator, and I just re-roll it until I find a good one, and then that's the featured Quranic verse of the stream. So this one is from the Quran 29:9, and says, "And as for those who believe and do good works, we verily shall make them enter in among the righteous."
It's pretty innocuous, I guess.
That's a pretty innocuous one. That's pretty good. I want to know
verily,
what. I wonder
the
what's.
Word verily is great.
Yeah, verily is great because it's literally the same as very. I mean, well, I guess with verily shall. I mean, I don't know. That's something that there's a lot of very interesting grammar related articles about this versus that, but this is interesting though because in Christianity, there's many denominations of it that say salvation is by faith alone, that your works are irrelevant, and then you have like the Catholics where they kind of like believe in that, but they sort of LARP the fact that works are necessary, but not really. It's a little bit convoluted, but it looks like the Quran also they celebrate works, but we don't know exactly what group they're referring to because I'm just being a dipshit and like reading random verses out of context. But I feel I am satisfying my promise of studying the Quran in this way. We'll do a bonus Quran verse. Lo, thy Lord knoweth surely all that their bosoms hide and all that they proclaim. I mean, that's just right if the Lord is omniscient. That's just like logically deducible. So that was from the 27th chapter. So we almost have a little bit of continuity there. All right, enough of that. Fuck that noise. I mean, respect. I mean, respect that religion. Okay, so I have the ones I mentioned before about transhumanism via electric underwear to prevent rape, and do I need to stop sleeping with new guys because of the coronavirus? And why do I have the history of slavery on here? Why do I even have this? What was I gonna listen to this? I was gonna close this one. There's nothing to read. Professors worried students will share lectures with right-wing sites. That's what a lot of people have been talking about. And then I have this one. We can't have a feminist future without abolishing the family. Just straight up. Like
that one. Yeah.
But the one I was gonna mention now was PewDiePie did a video about, I guess there was this show or this special, 15 men versus 5 women. Did any of you guys hear about that? I know some of you might have watched the PewDiePie video because I linked it in my channel.
No,
I couldn't get through it.
Oh, I watched the whole thing. It was like, I thought it was very entertaining and very funny. But like, what makes it especially hilarious is the fact that 15 to 5 is like a better than average ratio. Like if you're a man trying to seduce a woman, like people say, oh my god, on dating apps, men outnumber the women 3 to 1. That's a rough market, and it's like that's literally better than average. Like you're not gonna find a better ratio in reality than you will like on these dating apps. Which PewDiePie doesn't know that.
The women were like 6 out of 10s. Like there was no 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 women in that group. Like that's very realistic for dating sites, I think.
Oh, I wasn't even paying attention. Were they 6 out of 10? Really? That seems harsh. If you're harsh, maybe I think I might be a little bit generous.
Hey, that's just fair for you, but I'm just saying, like there was something wrong with each one of them to a degree where, like, yeah, bangable, but Jesus fucking Christ.
Oh, are you taking their intelligence into account?
Yes.
Oh, I see.
Not just the physical attributes.
You're like, one of those sapiosexuals. You can't just plug your ears and go for it.
Yeah, well, physically, I mean, one of them is like 8 out of 10. Like, yeah, if you're into that kind of look.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, if you're into the
Generally, I
look
would
and they
give
don't
them
talk
an
too
average
much.
6 out of 10, like, and some of them even lower. It's just actually just very on point. Like if you're on a dating site, you're competing with a bunch of dudes over a slightly above average woman if you're lucky.
Oh yeah, Paulo's seen it. Yeah, Paulo's yeah, he knows the funny bit about it at the end. So okay, I'm gonna start playing it. You guys should pull up the link so that you can see what's on the screen. Let me see. I'll put the link in the thing. I know there's ways to like have your link get sent everywhere at once, but I don't know, I was looking at one and then it needed all these permissions, which I guess logically it would have to, but it gave me a bad vibe and I decided I was just gonna be a boomer. This is great though too, because then I avoid this fucking problem of there being more people on my streams than watching the streams, and if I corral everybody onto the actual page, haha, and the number goes up. Alright, I'm just gonna play a chunk of it. I'm gonna jump through because I don't know, is PewDiePie gonna copyright strike me? I feel like he's too cool, like he wouldn't do that to me, but I guess we'll find out.
Go for it.
Rather than just adhering to the social structures,
the
hegemonies of society.
Oh. Okay.
Do you guys use dating apps?
On and off.
Yeah.
I definitely do.
Yeah.
No.
Depends on the women.
The average dating app has 3 times more than.
Yeah, we can read PewDiePie.
No
Shut
need
up.
for that.
Dating apps.
The weirdos.
Boys. You can't like feel their energy.
What's the worst thing a guy can have on his dating profile?
Him with a fish.
What the freaking is wrong? They don't know this. This is.
There's a lot.
Hi,
Oh, hey.
I'm 22.
Hey. I already know this guy and this guy are gonna win for no reason at all. All right, so we have 2 out of 5 the winners.
Hi, I'm Amber. I'm 22 years old. I collect pressed pennies. 51 cents is the way to my heart.
Oh, well, that's sweet.
I'm Mackenzie. I'm 21 years old, and a million people have seen me make out with a boy online.
What? All right, I guess that's another video. I don't know.
My name is Gabby. I'm 20. I'm a full-time destination wedding photographer, and I'm a yoga instructor on the side
Boring.
too.
Next
I'm
one.
actually
Boring.
From Amish country, Pennsylvania. I literally have Mennonite and Amish children at my house.
Hi, my
What?
name is Victoria. I'm 26 years old. I'm a social media influencer.
No, next. I don't like social media influencers.
My name is Jackie. I'm 19. I like to spend my free time at the gym. I've recently got into that.
Wow, that's so interesting. Wow. You see, this is what guys are competing for. So you can say anything about yourself. What makes you stand out? I go to the gym now. All right, that's.
Going right now? I'll go for a hug. Excuse me.
Oh,
Did you
why
drop
is this so
something?
cringe?
I think those are your standards. Hi, my name's Josh.
You see what I mean? He looks just like FaZe Jarvis.
Is this your first time dating 3 guys at once in a white void?
Yeah, wow. Definitely.
Favorite number?
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
September, I forget the date. I got a wedding, so.
He's got a what?
Yeah, it's in San Diego, so if you're down.
I have family from like small town Pennsylvania,
Where?
like Myerstown. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, that's not far.
I'm actually like an independent filmmaker.
Oh my God, he's identical to FaZe Jarvis.
Stand-up comedian. So I've made you laugh about 4 times so far.
Oh, you're counting, too.
Yeah.
Jubilee, please. You need to do something. Kill him! Kill him now! Obviously, never wish violence on them. Just gonna go past that?
Yellow's my favorite color.
Oh, I was gonna try to guess your favorite color.
Come on, Jarvis, you can do it.
I'm a guess too.
Yeah.
I'm in between blue and green. Like, I feel like that's like a standard.
Is this how you guys pick your partners? Favorite
Wait,
color?
I missed the cult
favorite
thing.
number?
I think that was the blonde.
Are we just gonna go past that?
Yellow's my favorite
Oh,
color.
I was gonna try to guess your favorite color.
What's like a story or something that's like, oh, hey, I did this. For me, I once accidentally joined a cult. It was an accident. But I did join.
What?
I don't know. I think we've seen enough of this. Oh, I guess I'll jump to the end just to see like the result.
respect. I respect it.
You don't know, you don't.
Well, brother.
Okay, one more minute.
In my nomadic journey, I actually...
Wait, hold up. I didn't notice this.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
That's okay. That's the guy that didn't play the instrument. Point proven. I knew it. Please pick him. Please pick him. Aw, fair.
Actually, I think I'm gonna stay and talk to you because I feel like I've talked to you so much now, you know?
Right
I
on.
love hearing what you have to
no
say.
worries.
Good to hear.
Have a beautiful day, my friend.
Can we hug?
I've talked to you enough, so I don't ever want to talk to you again.
Like, making me sweat enough.
They're all so good. They all had so many great qualities.
We appreciate that.
And I feel like, what if I made, no offense, what if I made the wrong choice?
I appreciate that. Wow.
Okay. Just gonna give it a moment to catch up. I think it finished, right? Where are we?
What if I made the wrong choice?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so that was that. I thought, yeah, the girls were generally kind of pretty, especially the blonde was like legit very pretty, but like doing destination vacation photos and being a yoga instructor is like.
I feel like puberty just passed over a lot of the men. I didn't see anything particularly interesting there. And well, heterosexual mating habits are interesting to observe, but you know. No, I found it interesting because watching this. Wait, so who's the original creator of the video, by the way?
Jubilee, and then PewDiePie is making fun of it because that's how I found it.
Okay.
I hadn't watched PewDiePie in forever because I'm so sick of his fucking Minecraft videos. I just like I don't play Minecraft.
So I'm not sure if this video then would be considered like if the leftists, if the left would like it or hate it. Because mind you, I always think like when I'm watching something a little bit of what will piss off the right, what will piss off the left, since I am so political. And I was watching this and I'm like, okay, would this be considered racist by some leftists? Because they're pretty segregated in regards to the groups, at least from what I was seeing. I kind of came in a little bit later in the video. But regardless, I was just watching it and I'm kind of like, yeah, this was boring overall. I didn't see anything. The cult mention was amusing. That was definitely amusing. But it honestly just seemed overall like cheesy flirtation at the end of the day.
The thing was it was cringy enough that I'm convinced it wasn't totally scripted. Because usually with this kind of crap, it's all like scripted garbage.
Oh yeah, I can believe that. It's like a Biden interview. It's
Oh, that reminds me. I have that
really
Biden clip too.
cringeworthy.
I have so many clips today. I have all of the clips. Let me grab it. That Biden clip is super short. We'll just go ahead and play that.
Oh god.
Wow, that was funny. Did everybody see this? And it's kind of old news now, a few days, but I'm just gonna play it.
Would reassess the recommended period for keeping businesses shut and people at home. Are you at all concerned, as Trump said, that we cannot let the cure be worse than the problem itself?
We have to take care of the cure. That will make the problem worse no matter what. No matter what. We know what has to be done. We know you have to...
Would reassess the recommended period. Period for keeping businesses shut and people at home. Are you at all concerned, as Trump said, that we cannot let the cure be worse than the problem itself?
We have to take care of the cure. That will make the problem worse no matter what. No matter what. We know what has to be done. We know you have to...
Would reassess the recommended period.
That was like, I don't know what to make of it even. Okay, the thing I hate is that...
I don't even know why I let you put me through that. Like,
but like I hate that.
I feel like I
like
need an alcoholic beverage.
Oh yeah, that's
Another one.
practically mandatory, isn't it? I think especially for anyone watching, right? But the issue is that, like, I don't want to talk over the clip playing, but I know that if I stop and I wait, then there's going to be silence necessarily. And I wonder how other people get around that. I don't know. Oh, I guess the only way to get around
stream
it
delay is pretty bad, man. I don't know why that is.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, well, it might be especially bad, like just because of the circumstances. Also, I want to give a shout out to Korea Man in the chat. His name's in Chinese, but he lives in Korea. He's known as Korea Man. Yeah, he said it must be a relief to be in HK instead of the US at this moment. Yeah, that's how I feel. Man, well, it's funny because I went to visit the US because I had so much time off, and it was before anybody realized it was going to be this serious. Yeah, right. Well, no, I mean, I know it wasn't me because there'll be a very specific pattern of people that I was in contact with, right? So that was my that was my de facto corona test. I know that I'm negative because like you know, I was shaking hands with babies and old people. There'd just be like a wake of sickness, you know, had I had it, with how fucking contagious it is. And then I'm trying to leave, and my mom's trying to be like, are you sure? Like, you really don't have to go back? And I'm like, I have to go back, right? It's all dramatic. I have to go back, Mom. Yeah. My stuff is there. Fuck you.
It's kind of like a lazy single person when it comes to STDs, right? You sleep with someone, wait a couple months. Do you have anything? Okay, no, then I know I'm good. All right.
Okay, good. Yeah.
That's one way to save money on a test, man. I'm not gonna lie.
But no, okay, so as far as here in America, I mean, oh God, I've been following this obviously so closely, and I mean, from the media's reaction, the politics reactions, the Democrats, the Republicans, the legislation that was recently all over the place, that they went back and forth, got voted down, and then Nancy and Pelosi introducing her complete welfare state, socialist communist agenda bill, her idea in the House. Like, it's just been absolutely crazy. But I don't know. I mean, I honestly think at the end of the day, things aren't ultimately, statistically speaking, numbers-wise, as bad as a lot of people think. And the reason why is because we have yet to start testing for antibodies in the population. We're just ramping up the testing. And as we find out, and the good thing, and I know this, people might be like, wow, that's a good thing. But obviously the good thing is, as we diagnose more and more people, as that increases, and yeah, maybe, the death rate is going to increase as well. But the more and more people we test, that number is going to change the percentage of deaths statistically. Now, you include then antibody testing. So you're testing to see whether or not someone has had it because they have the antibodies in their system once they do, and they just got over it. Once you add those numbers to those who have tested positive and are doing fine, and obviously have not passed away, that's really going to change the numbers, and that's going to give us a whole different perspective of this. Honestly, I am more concerned for the economy than I am about the virus right now. And that's because we just cannot keep going the way that we are. And people are like, well, you got to think about people's health and all that stuff. And I'm like, I am. Because how great do you think the health coverage, the health care for this will be if we enter a friggin' depression?
Well, that's the thing. Like a lot of the precautions are pretty sensible. Like, I was up in Dave Cullen, Computing Forever. He posted a video just the other day with Rocking Mr. E, and like, it really, they pissed me off, and I had to blow up their comment section because they're going back and forth about how, oh, the government's just using this as an excuse to take all of our ridiculous that we have to stay inside and blah, blah. And they're just like complaining about fucking everything. Oh my God, I can't believe I have to go out to jog every once a week. And I'm like, guys, like so much of the social distancing shit, it's not that hard, and you can totally do it, right? And it's and everyone's like, oh my God, we're gonna see who the real libertarians are. And I'm like, fuck you, I'm a real libertarian. And like, these are like being negligent and getting a disease and then spreading it, that's an NAP violation. I think that's clearly an NAP violation, right? So like these are sensible things anyone can do. Yeah. Some of it's dumb. Like the curfews are dumb. Like curfews are dumb because that just makes everybody crowd around in small spaces. But
yeah, no, I'm not going off on the precautions. That's the thing. I'm not like I'm practicing. I had a friend that wanted to go hiking today, and I love hiking. It is really my escape. It is my zen to be. It is like when I hike. I honestly, when I'm on a mountain and I'm looking at the view, every problem in my life just fades away while I'm up there. And I had a friend wanting to go hiking, and I turned it down, mainly because, well, one of the bigger reasons is that friend is actually a nurse and has been in contact with people who have it. And like I said, I'm not so much concerned about getting it and it, damaging effect on me as I am the economic impact when it comes to the fact that it will put me out of work for 2 weeks. That then if I test positive, my husband will also be quarantined and we both will be facing financial issues. So that is more my concern than anything else.
Oh my God. I wish I had only been off of work for 2 weeks. Try 2.5 fucking months.
So here's the funny thing. Yeah, here's the funny thing. I acknowledge that I'm in a fortunate place because the industry I'm in is considered essential. So, and not only that, I got 60 hours last week at my job because of this. And it's completely, this time of year is usually dead right now. Usually at my job, they would be sending people home early, asking them if they want to go home early because it would just be that quiet. But without going into much detail, I am actually in, the food industry, food chain in there. I work for a warehouse that, we send the product to the store. So we were incredibly busy with everyone buying up all the toilet paper, hand sanitizer, Lysol, all that shit. Which to speak to that, and I actually posted about this on my social media, it is not a supply issue and people are just ridiculous. I'm glad that stores are doing senior hours because it's just absolutely ridiculous. People this is not like a natural disaster where we really deal with a supply issue. This is just an issue of our ability to supply the stores from the warehouse cannot keep up with the demand. It's not that we can't get the product and get it to stores. It's just the demand is so great and people are just grabbing everything that it will eventually come off as a supply issue when it's not.
Yeah,
so I'm very frustrated with this I'm very frustrated with this all around because Trump got a lot of hate when he said, I'd love to have everything open by Easter. First of all, he did not say, they're acting as if he said, Easter is the date we're going to open this baby up. That is not what he said. He said he'd love to open up the country by then, to get everything going, to get our economy back on track, which is essential. And there's two things there is Trump has the experts near him. Okay. He has the experts next to him that are being cautious and are telling us this, or telling the American people how to be cautious. So it's Trump's job to, yes, acknowledge them, of course, which he does. They speak at all the public addresses. So that happens. But it is also Trump's job as a leader to give us hope, to show that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And yes, I think choosing a specific date or choosing a specific time may not be the best, but you should have been more say like soon. We're seeing this soon. But I'm not going to hate on him for wanting to give people light, for wanting to show that there is a light at the end of that tunnel, and also stressing the point that our economy can't take this. And think about the Great Depression. You had people committing suicide. You want to talk about death rates increase, crime going up, murders going up because of people fighting over resources. I mean, the left really wants to go at this. We can definitely go at this. I'm sorry. The closing down of our economy will ultimately hurt us much more than the coronavirus ever could. And I mean, it's just, at least that's what I'm getting from the numbers that I'm reading, especially in other countries. And when you're looking at, for example, the testing of the antibodies, which I really hope that we get to that soon.
Well, I do want to highlight a couple of things in the chat, because like it's something that I had noticed too. Because Korea, man, he's obviously in Korea, and he's noticing like the contrast between the way people are in the West versus the East. And basically, it's like in the East, we're like 2 to 3 months like in the future. I guess not that much. We're like 1 to 2 months in the future compared to the West, right? Because we had it first. And Asians wear surgical masks, whereas I was trying to explain this to Claire Ka. She was like, "How come Westerners don't wear masks?" And I'm like, "Because it's like an Asian fashion trend. That's like how white Westerners see it. Like we just like it's like weird to wear a mask." And most people in the
I
West,
saw like 5 today.
Did you see some? Okay, because here in Hong Kong, it's everyone. It's like things are more or less going on normally, except like all the schools are closed, which like totally fucks me.
Yeah.
But
So,
like stuff is still open. It's just literally everyone and their sister. They're all wearing masks because you'll be a fucking pariah if you don't. And so it's not even like a government thing. It's just because like people know that. Like you don't even need the government to make that a rule. People just don't want to be assholes. But like in the West, everyone's like, "You're not gonna fucking make me wear a mask. Fuck you. Blah blah blah. I need to buy all toilet paper." So like I honestly think like literally we're gonna see 2 worlds where like Asia gets it under control and the West just like can't do it. The West is gonna be totally fucked. They're gonna be like just the self-made panic. They're gonna be blaming China the whole time, which is like, okay, fine, but that's not gonna solve the problem. Like
yeah, okay. So I want to insert there because, okay, first of all, I have been seeing a drastic increase in masks. I have seen it I take public transportation to get home from work. I've seen people wearing masks on that. People at my job there are some workers who are wearing masks. I went to a local CVS today, which is a local store, and every single employee but one that I saw in there was wearing a mask. On my way walking to the bank and walking to the store, I saw probably about 3 people or so wearing masks. 2 of them were driving, 1 of them walking. So that is increasing. Now, in regards to the masks themselves, I think one of the reasons is because in America, a lot of people don't understand exactly what those masks do.
They think they're protective. Because I used to think that. Yeah, I didn't realize
themselves, but that's not what you're doing. You're just preventing yourself from giving it to others. Doctors wear those masks to prevent themselves from like saliva germs going into the patient when they're performing surgery. So basically how those masks are protecting people is that if you're wearing it, what you're doing is you're protecting other people. If you have it, you're not protecting yourself from getting it. And I think that's one of the misunderstandings here in America as well.
So since we're on the topic of it, I guess I'm just going to blow through every single story that even mentions the stupid fucking beer virus so that we get through the topic. And then on to my normal shtick of making fun of like feminists and liberals and shit.
Yeah.
But we mentioned this earlier. Oh yeah, go ahead.
One thing on the mask thing, like apparently the European countries are trying to grab them for themselves, and we're told by the government not to buy them because many hospitals now have the situation where it's like bring your own mask day because they're running out of the good stuff, so they have to buy the ones available to the public. So I don't know how many people would like to wear a mask in Switzerland because we're told not to do it because there's a shortage of those masks because for some reason we can only get them from like China and shit.
Yeah, well, I've seen that they have new machines that can crank them out real fast. And there are, I guess, Korean man was talking about in like Canada, like some of the I guess what he said the beer places are producing masks now, which is like okay.
Well, actually, it's interesting from a community standpoint, from a public approach, which I fully support, is people coming together, Americans, communities coming together. I actually created a Facebook group for people in my area during this. People who are quarantined, they can reach out and ask people for help because obviously you can order groceries over the phone now, even get them delivered, but not all grocery stores deliver at this time. So you can actually, I created a group where people who are quarantined can reach out and ask others to deliver their groceries. Of course, the person delivering the groceries has been advised that obviously leave the merchandise on the porch, different steps and stuff like that. So I see communities coming together. And another thing I've seen, and this has been across the country, is seamstresses creating masks, being asked to create masks. Actually, I have a good friend, a business partner of my husband and I. My husband is a leather worker. She's a seamstress, and she works on a lot of his stuff. She has actually been asked by people that she knows to create masks, so she has agreed to do that. So this is like stuff I actually, while there's a lot of fear that I have in regards to the economy, I will admit I've been seeing a lot of good deeds. I've been seeing a lot of positives from people. So I haven't. This has this has restored a little bit of my faith in humanity. But at the same time, we need to really work on the goal of getting beyond this, and we need to have a plan, especially where opening up our economy is concerned. So, anyways.
Yeah, and I guess who knows? I guess we'll kind of wait and see. Oh, speaking of, did you hear about we're gonna get our fucking NEAT bucks? Donald Trump decided, hey, fuck you, Andrew Yang. I'm you now.
Oh yeah, okay. Oh, which by the way, okay, I gotta acknowledge the distinction. So the actual approach, you obviously socialist, the government, the government helping, but I also think there is a distinction, especially where companies are concerned and laid off workers are concerned, where between a bailout and assistance during a national crisis or a natural disaster. I think those are very two things. Bailouts, if we're talking about the banks and the auto industry from a number of years ago, that was their own making. Now, you could then argue, well, why didn't these companies prepare for this? I understand that argument. But then if you want to apply that argument to people, when I get into discussion with Democrats, this is where they then get mad at me. More left-leaning individuals, because I'm like, well, if you want to make that argument, we could also make the argument, why aren't people preparing for natural disasters? Why aren't they putting money aside? Why should they then get the help as well? And that was what's really put me at odds with a lot of the people who were supporting more the Democrat, why they voted it down. So I actually agreed with the initial vote down of the legislation because the Republicans did not include enough oversight, transparency in regards to the businesses that would be getting the money and just confirming how they're using the money. Not so much telling them, but if they abuse the money, okay, you're not getting any more. I think that is important. So I agreed with the Democrats on that. However, attaching ridiculous things like airplane emission regulations, that was absolutely just beyond ridiculous. Diversity quotas on boards, company boards, all this stuff was just absolute socialist bullshit. But one of the disagreements that I got into with a lot of Democrats there was in regards to, well, the approach in general, because we are really, I don't think we're focusing on this correctly, and or at least the Democrats are, because they're about the common Joe, the average Joe, and I get that, I really do. They're like, well, this money should go more to the average Joe than to the companies, and I'm like, okay, but if we focus primarily on the average Joe, which I consider myself an average Joe, I'm a warehouse worker, I don't make a fortune. If we focus on the average Joe and not the companies, it's the companies that employ the average Joe.
Yeah, but wait a minute. That's their rhetoric, but in practice, they tried to stuff a bunch of Green New Deal shit into the bill.
Yeah, they did. No, they did.
Yeah,
no, that's what I'm saying. I'm just addressing
they're
their
every
argument.
bit as annoying and cronyist as the Republicans are with their
and I'm just
but.
Yeah, and that's why I'm addressing that. That's why I mentioned the emissions, regulations for airlines. Yeah. That was just absolutely ridiculous. That was totally Green New Deal crap in there. Diversity quotas, $15. So there also was mandatory $15 wages for anyone working for a company impacted by the coronavirus. There was all kinds of socialist crap in there, kinds of stuff that the Democrats have been pushing for a very long time, that leftists have been pushing for a very long time. So now some could argue that was just Nancy Pelosi put that forward as a fear tactic to get the middle ground met. But no, I genuinely believe that she believes in that. And it's just, but anyways, yeah, I really, to sum that all up, I care more about the economy at this point. I'm more nervous about the economy than I am about this virus. Some people may consider that they may not consider that, focusing on the important thing, but I still stand by my opinion that we'll be in much more trouble and have much more death rates, higher death rates. We will have much more issues overall if we do not focus on the future of our economy, while we also try to address the medical needs of those impacted by the virus.
Yeah, I mean, obviously my point of departure is that any kind of government bailout, personal subsidy, no matter where it goes, is just wrong because it involves, theft and everything, and ideally we should have natural organic market corrections even in the face of a crisis. In the long term, it's going to be a lot more expensive than whatever it's paying out in the short term. But one thing I do like about this is it's forcing people to actually think through the consequences of the government just printing a fuckload of money and just bailing people out and just giving people free money
yeah,
for no
no.
reason. Like now you're having more and more people being like, wait a minute. Like now more and more people are kind of starting to see the Austrian economic perspective, which I think hopefully I'm going to cross my fingers that in the long run that'll translate into more rejection of these kinds of policies. But I mean, in the short run, like I'll take that fucking money because if the dollar's going to collapse, right, and everything's going to go to shit, I'm first entitled to that money. All of the goddamn socialists, they should fucking wait at the end of the bread line.
So I will admit when it comes to that money, so I personally, I'm not a fan of how that passed. And people may be like, oh, well, you're going to get a check. And I'm like, I'm one of the fortunate who are considered an essential employee. So I don't like, I think there's a lack of oversight where that money is concerned. I personally think instead of closing down our economy, we should be really flooding that money into the more focused on, obviously the hospitals, the medical field, maybe even incentives for companies to produce masks, to produce hospital gowns, to produce ventilators, the things that we're worried that we will be short on. I think that money would be better served there. Myself personally, supporting the nursing homes, the areas, the communities that are more likely going to be susceptible to this. I think that is the approach we should have. Me and my husband, and I speak from, like I said, I realize a very fortunate place that we both are considered essential employees in the jobs that we have. So my husband and I, we've made a few decisions locally, at least 3 times a week. We order out from a local business to try to help contribute to the community during this time while a lot of them are suffering. The restaurants, because all they can do is takeout, you can't actually sit in, which is funny because just before this, we were actually discussing how to cut down on ordering out. Now we're ordering out to help our local economy. And also when we get that money, we actually plan to invest it back into the local economy because we feel that is where it belongs. So yeah, it's just I'm not really a particular fan with how it's being approached. And mind you, unemployment is now at 3.3 million. New unemployment cases have occurred over the past, pretty much since began this over the past week or so, a couple weeks. It drastically jumped. And I'm like, yeah, that just highlights how stupid we are in regards to basically turning off our economy. I think Trump is realizing this, obviously. I think that's why he rightfully, wrongfully, whatever, maybe he played it down a little bit, is because he understands that us damaging our economy will hurt us much more than the virus itself. But I mean, I don't know. What is the right approach? We don't know. Only time will play this out. Even countries that seem beyond this point right now, we ultimately don't know how this will play out. Because it's kind of weird. For example, I know you have a closer connection to it, but China suddenly has 0 deaths happening. Really? 0. None.
Yeah,
none
I hope.
And
I don't care if they're lying.
I'm calling bullshit. I'm calling bullshit.
I hope they keep saying 0 anyway, though, because that'll benefit me personally. So.
Yeah, they're full of shit, obviously.
No, shut up. This is a pro-China safe space. Okay, on my stream, we read from the Quran, and China is number 1. So
yeah, I'm only pro-China in regards to nationality of some of the men that I've had enjoyed some time with in the past. But so no, in regards to the Chinese government itself, nah, I'm sorry, I'm very, very vocal about my criticisms of it. However, I'm also vocal of criticisms of my own government, but. And this is one of my criticisms. I think we are idiots for bringing our economy to a stall like this, and we really can't sustain this much longer. So,
I just hate the trillions of dollars they pumped into the stock market, and like the fact that it's that amount of money and they did it immediately versus this like tiny pittance they're giving to actual people. It tells you everything you need to know about the priorities of government. And I love the fact that people are saying, wait a minute, what if all that money that they just pumped into the stock market for no reason, for trends that are getting reversed immediately, that like don't even do anything, just to give people a chance to do insider trading and all this stupid bullshit, right? If instead it just got directed to the people, everyone's saying, well, wait a minute, if I have the money directly, then that affects the economy. And I'm sitting here like, yeah, kind of like how if we didn't have taxation, you'd have more money. And things would work. Or kind of like how if you didn't have a minimum wage, or if you didn't have unemployment insurance, if you didn't have government regulations, like it would drive down the cost of everything, and everything in principle would work the same way.
Yeah, can I address a question in the comments? I obviously I know.
Yeah,
you said
the
Chinese,
U.S. versus it's the U.S. versus Korea, right? So I don't know.
Can I just read it? Yeah, can I read the section I want to address quick? Businesses aren't running during the lockdown, but need employees again after the lockdown ends. Yet employers in the U.S. seem to think the lockdown is permanent, therefore layoffs, not unpaid leave. Is it that hard to place employees on unpaid leave for a lockdown? You wouldn't need as large of a stimulus package, nor would you have to worry about the economy collapsing if you didn't do layoffs. So I actually want to address this because of, at least on a local level, large corporations, yeah, I think they're being idiots with that. They should have been more prepared for stuff. But a lot of businesses are are laying off people because they're not sure they can survive this. Actually, one business locally in a section, ironically, that's Little Italy in the city in which I live, funny enough, there was a business there, a restaurant that had been in business for 77 years. It closed its doors forever. It has no plans to ever reopen. And I think the business, so the mindset with this decision was that, well, if we try to stay open and we try to do takeout, that's not something we can sustain because we are primarily a sit-down restaurant. Therefore, we will ultimately lose more money in the end, and we won't be able to survive anyways, even after all this is over. So I think that's why a lot of, especially small businesses, are laying people off, is because they really fear that their business will not be able to survive this. So they actually think they might not have a business for people to return to. And I honestly, from speaking to local businesses and small business owners especially, not so much, I don't really have any friends that are corporate, involved in corporate businesses, but in small businesses, that is a very real fear that a lot of people are expressing. They do not know if they will have jobs for people once this is over because they don't know if they will still exist. So I think that is contributing a lot to why we don't have that. And as far as, the Chinese government, this is where I'll get in criticism of that, is applauding the Chinese government. This is a nation that lied about the virus in the beginning, silenced reports on it, and pretty much, labor, it's easy to guarantee labor to your people when it's pretty much just short of slave labor. But honestly, so that's personally my view on that. It's kind of easy when your workforce will suck up, will take anything you give them. Not when you have a workforce that demands to be treated a certain way. So that's pretty easy then to just put everyone on, furlough or whatever it may be, just suspend their employment for a short time is when they would just take whatever you give them. We tend to be a little bit more demanding in the U.S. We tend to be very critical of our government. Even on the Democratic side, a lot of Democrats focus so much on big business. But even at the end of the day, when they don't like the government, Democrats are very much critical of government. It is very much within us, built into us, I think, to be critical of our government. And I honestly, at the end of the day, see that as much more of a positive than a negative, because I really feel like it's when you give the government too much credit, when you give it too much power, you slowly give up. You give up freedom. You give up you give up essentially your freedom to be you. And that is not something that I could support on any level, which we have examples of that already in Pennsylvania. It's a state that actually the government of Pennsylvania controls the alcohol, the liquor industry. They actually closed down even online liquor sales. For crying out loud. What the hell does that have to do? Trust me, people need the alcohol to get through this. I see lines at the liquor store. And then there's also talks of shutting down gun sales, all different kinds of things that it's like, really, this is what you're doing. And that's why we've actually had a spike in the purchasing of guns and ammunition among several demographics. Actually, the Asian demographic has been one of the highest spikes because they are concerned about acts of hate as a result of this, which we did have. There's been a few stories, but one I remember the most is in New York City on a subway, a guy sprayed a guy with a bottle of Febreze.
Which is like
the guy happened to be Asian.
Febreze isn't even like antibacterial.
Yes, as in the air freshener. No, the air freshener. It was just air freshener.
Yeah,
it wasn't like it was Lysol.
That's the thing. Yeah, it wouldn't even.
Yeah. wait. Are you saying we're gonna get roof Koreans?
I hope so. We do need roof Koreans.
But regardless, it's just been absolutely crazy. So I think that governments, even my own governor, he is very much he's a Democrat. He used to be a bit more moderate. However, he is extremely anti-gun. He has been, honestly, some Democrats are touting him because they see Biden as crazy or as losing it, and they're worried that he might not make it to November. And obviously, Bernie has no chance since he went full on, yay Castro. I think they're actually been kind of touting the governor of my state because he's seen as taking a strong leading stance during this time. Yeah, this is a man who thinks that, people are leaving our state because of the weather, and that's his focus. That not because of the high taxes, the high property taxes, the high cost of merchandise, the taxes on merchandise, basically everything connected to taxes, and also the growing restriction on freedoms. Those things play absolutely no role in why people are leaving our state. It's the weather. That's what my governor focuses on. So no, absolutely not would I support him being inserted in there as the Democratic nominee. And trust me, the only thing about that is I would take absolute pleasure in voting against that man again.
This reminds me, since you mentioned it, you mentioned the anti-Asian racism, and I found this really funny clip. I think it's from a movie that somebody shared on Facebook. What? It's not available right now? What the fuck? Oh my god.
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna kill everyone.
You can kill everyone.
No.
Yeah.
It was this clip from like a movie where this like Asian girl is getting bullied, and then
that one.
Yeah, it says it's not. Why is it not available? Did they take it down? It's probably copyright. God damn it. Oh man.
I have no idea. I don't know what
they
you're
were
talking
really
about.
incompetent. Like they just played some really loud music over the movie clip from a movie that came out last year. So obviously, the copyright gods have reclaimed that one.
Oh, is that why?
By the way,
I couldn't tell.
Another thing you will find interesting is I not recall where the article is, but apparently there was also a report of Asian on Asian hate in regards to this. Apparently,
that's just business as usual. The Asians are
I
always
know, but this was the music because apparently a guy got into a fight with another guy when the guy, now mind you, everyone in this, of 3 individuals involved in this are Asian. Apparently, it's a guy and his girlfriend out. I think they may have been, I think they were on the subway, but they were in public, obviously. And another guy who happened to be Asian, he like coughed and it happened to be in the direction of the woman. So her boyfriend felt the need to approach him about it. And apparently it just, I was like, oh my goodness. Oh, but it's just interesting. And speaking of coughing, then you got Biden, which, okay, I criticize Biden a lot. I personally think he's losing touch with his mental faculties, but him getting criticized for coughing into his hand is kind of ridiculous to me because I'm also looking at it as a generational thing. I was taught as a child to go like this, cough into my arm, my shoulder, stuff like that, and sneeze there too. But I'm very much aware that coughing like that was just customary for a long time before then. Obviously, Biden was around a long time before then, before my childhood. So I just think it's a natural impulse at this point. So people criticizing him for that, I'm kind of like, Really? That there's a lot to criticize him for, and that's what you're choosing. You sound and these are the people on the right. I'm like, you're sounding as petty as the Democrats who criticize, Trump over ice cream and, and all that shit. And the China flu, which, oh my goodness, that has just been amusing as all hell, despite the fact that the mainstream media was calling it the Wuhan coronavirus for the longest time. Even CNN did. But hey, we forget about that history conveniently and just focus on what Trump has done. But I do want to kind of address a little bit in another to that was the Little Italy shop. A comment in there was the Little Italy shop closing seems tragic. I think it's from this panic and the lack of clarity or direction in the response from DC for over a month caused many people to lose hope, sad to say. And I agree with that to a degree, both from DC in regards to Congress, but also in regards to Trump. I think Trump had just grown so accustomed to nothing being able to touch him. He would get criticism from the left and then he'd troll them on Twitter and that would make it worse and he would just find it amusing and his followers would find it amusing. I think Trump just got so used to being untouchable that he took this just as lightly as he did everything else at first. So he really didn't buckle down and address it as a serious situation. I think that's just part of Trump's personality, but it's also been the tone of his presidency when dealing with the left, especially with Democrats, with the mainstream media. And unfortunately, I think it did hurt him and it hurt the country in regards to the fact it didn't really put us on a structured path as early as it should have. And it left a lot of people, businesses, business owners, and just people in general alike feeling like they didn't have any direction or they didn't know where this was going, when it was going to end, which ironically enough, Trump is trying to now give that by saying, hopefully this we'll be out of this soon. And the Democrats and mainstream media are now hating on him for that, for setting a date. So you really can't win with the left. I will say this whole thing has done a few things to me. It's definitely confirmed that I was right to change party affiliation and that it solidified my disdain for the mainstream media. Anyways, sorry. I know I've been ranting so much. I know. It's just being in New York, especially, I'm very very passionate about this because I am in the state that has the highest number. We are exceeding all other states in regards to that. Mind you, that is because of New York City. But I think it was recently, in just the city itself, if it was compared to other countries, New York City would be 19th in the population of cases. And if we include all of New York State, I think we are 6th or 9th. So regardless, we are up there in the top 20, even compared to other nations when it comes to cases of this.
Yeah, well, my prediction was always that it's going to be worse in America than probably anywhere. I still can't quite figure out why Italy has it so much worse than everywhere else, but I guess I'm not really that concerned. I'm just waiting for the
massive
dust
incompetence.
Just incompetence. Just fuck them.
Look, they actually, I've seen footage of this when it first started getting bad. They had the people who thought they might have it crammed up in hospital waiting rooms, had them wait there for hours. Like if you were just a little sick, you got the virus after staying in that room for 4 hours. That was one of the things that they kept doing for weeks. Like, are you trained medical? Whatever. What's wrong with you? And then they have all the people on the respirators die. Like, we still don't know why. It doesn't happen in Germany. Like, they have a very high recovery rate, so I don't know what the Italians did wrong, but I live next to them. They're a neighboring country, and I know they are very incompetent. Sorry, come again?
Aren't they putting like 2 people on a respirator at this point? Like trying to put multiple people on respirators, the same one.
With like a fucking splitter, just like here, or just like take turns. Like, oh god.
but regardless, I guess it's like a dual. It's converting respirators so they can be used on 2 people at the same time, which just seems like it creates a lot of problems as well in regards to obviously people being next to each other and just like I just think that that's a little bit problematic, but I agree they created like a breeding ground for it when people were rushing to hospitals. But I also think culturally, at least in comparison to America, Italy culturally does something that we don't so much here in America do, and we
family
don't really.
cohabitation, you mean?
Yes, family cohabitation. You have like generations, 3-4 generations sometimes in Italy living under a roof. And my manager at my job, he actually immigrated from Italy. His parents did when he was a child. He was like 6 years old. So he still goes back to Italy and visits them and everything. And for him, his relatives telling him their stories and what's going on in Italy. And he acknowledged that too. He's like, yeah, we have several generations. So obviously, since you have that situation, you don't have young adults living on their own independently. They're coming home and they're bringing it to the elderly. They're bringing it to those who are more vulnerable to the impact of the virus itself, who have underlying health conditions. This is also something that I think is contributing to what's happening in Italy.
Yeah, also, as of last week, there was numbers from the different hospitals saying that 99% of the deaths were people who had very, very severe underlying conditions with an average of 6 months left to live just from what they already... They actually had someone in late-stage cancer who was going to die like in 3 months, and he died while having the coronavirus. So they put him down on the list. This man died of coronavirus. Like,
yeah, well, I can see that because
while having the virus, so technically true.
Yeah, well, but here's the thing, though. A lot of people, what they'll do is they'll make the argument that that's the case for example, within the MRM, we'll often compare death rates from things like prostate cancer to breast cancer or to cervical cancer. And the counter argument is, well, people with prostate cancer tend to have a bunch of other diseases, right? And therefore it's men dying with it rather than of it. Which I think there's two sides of it, right? I've seen like the stats breakdown where they say there's the comorbidity rates by various health things, which is some good old fashioned intersectionality. So some intersectionality when you're actually doing science. I just wanted
I'm not
to
saying that's not that dangerous. I'm just saying like the horrible numbers. They wouldn't be that horrible if we were told like the details about them.
Right. Because when you bleed the deaths, people, the default assumption is that they're healthy and that they don't happen to have like late stage cancer. I just wanted to really address this quick though, because Karaman asked me what I think of Serpensa and Laowai, which they're basically like the biggest like white Western China vloggers, because they did the expat thing and like also vlogged over there, which like I used to watch some of like Laowai like many years ago, and then after I learned about Serpensa, I was like, oh, Serpensa is just doing the same thing but better. So then I just only followed Serpensa for a little bit, but I never watched their shit that closely. I do think that they skew a little bit too anti-China. Like I do kind of agree with that. But yeah, they're fucking riding their little RVs, their ATVs around in LA now, I guess, with their pretty Chinese waifus. Good for them, I guess. They're living the dream. Yeah.
I have a question for you, Spaceman, because for me personally, when it comes to China, because I'm growing in regards to my criticisms of China, but for me, my criticisms of China, so there's a distinction that's very important is in regards to a criticism of a government and a criticism of the nation, overall, like including the people. And I think that's where there's a failure to draw a line on both sides, at least here in America sometimes. I always clarify that I am very much critical of the Chinese government, not so much for dealing with the people, dealing with the government, those in charge of the government. That's really where I stress my criticism. It's where I lay my criticisms at the end of the day. But I feel like for a lot of people, they conflate the two, and I feel like that's on both sides. That's why, to me, when I see these reports of people, someone that they perceive to be Chinese, spraying them with Febreze or responding a certain way or not going to a Chinese restaurant because of this, and I'm like, really? really? You gotta be freaking kidding me. Is because for me, it's not. It's very much my criticisms, like I said, are focused on the government, not the people. Do you think that's an important distinction that needs to be discussed when discussing China? Because I feel like that's not discussed enough.
Well, that's the thing, is that to me that distinction is so obvious, right? Especially because like how many American people like the government? I'd say roughly 0%, you know, except for the ones that are in government, but even they hate half of it, right? So it's like,
or at least they preach about hating it, yeah.
Yeah, or at least they pretend to, right? So like I feel like the distinction, it should be so like logically obvious, but then I take a step back and I see how dumb people are. Like, you had all these people, like, back in January and February saying, oh my god, I can't believe how selfish all these Chinese people are for deciding to travel even though they know this virus has an outbreak because of Chinese New Year, right? And all this criticism and condemnation. And then we're looking at just a couple weeks back, all those spring breakers in Miami. Oh, if I get corona, I get corona. Oh, I just want to get some. I just want to get some pussy, yo. I just like man, we've been waiting for like a couple of weeks. Like we've been like not partying, and like I'm not gonna let it ruin my spring break. And it's like literally the same fucking white people who are telling Chinese people, you need to cancel, you know, New Year's Super Christmas where you get to see grandma and make your Shaolong Bao together and do a bunch of wholesome, awesome activities, right? It's fucking canceled. Fuck you. Literally the biggest holiday on the planet. Fuck you. No, you should just cancel that. How dare you? Right? And then literally a couple months later, we're seeing all these fucking white people like, oh, fucking Miami Beach. I'm going to go do the same shit I do every fucking weekend, but on a beach.
Oh, absolutely.
You know?
You've heard about how Florida has responded to this, right? You've heard about that, right?
Well, what they should have done, they should have just quarantined the beach. They said, hey, your spring break's extended. No. Fuck you.
I haven't read this fully up, but I have to read all the. But Florida has now instated a quarantine for people traveling to Florida from out of state. Which is interesting because this actually has been a discussion too, is when were we going to get to the point where states were going to quarantine themselves from other states? When were they going to implement travel restrictions from the state level in regards to other states saying, no, you can't have it? And I happen to live in one of the states that very much people would be like, stay the fuck out of my state. So,
oh God, if I was a state governor, I would fucking ban people from Florida like day one. I'd be like, you guys gotta get your fucking, you gotta get your meth and your fucking crocodile fucking crazy Florida men and your bath salts under control. Then we'll talk.
Well, no, it's Florida banning people from coming in because, coming in from like New York State, which is interesting because New York State is having its own drama. There have been upstate New York is pretty much saying, please, downstate New Yorkers, don't come up here.
Man, if I were Florida, I would just do that to other states just to flex on them because I know that I'm like the shittiest, craziest state ever. Be like, oh, you know what? We decided all you other states are a danger to us, and we're not going to. And then everyone's just gonna be sitting there like, wow, really? Like Florida, you're gonna tell me that we're too dangerous for you?
Yeah, and you know, ironically, a lot of people aren't paying that much attention to California. Gavin has said a little things that people pay attention to, but if California has been on its path to becoming a third world country in and of itself for a while now, so I think people are like, oh, this is just another thing. They already have people shitting on the streets in front of businesses and restaurants and all that stuff in front of homes, so why not? This is just one more thing, which has also become a criticism, is California with its high rate of with the homeless population. How on earth do they plan to control that? Are they quarantining, you know, people to boxes? Although some people, they have opened up some areas, buildings, taken over hotels and stuff like that, from what I've read, to where they are housing people in that. But still, I think California really isn't getting as much of attention because this is kind of par of the course of California. Everyone sees California just becoming this shit stain of you know, America. You know, New Jersey absolutely is probably celebrating that future, but because, you know, it's been the punching bag for a while. I actually joke, my husband was born in New Jersey. He's from there originally. He moved out when he was like 5 years old, but when he told me that when we first started dating, I jokingly responded, okay, that explains the smell. But yeah, I mean, Washington State gets more attention than California at this point in regards to what's happening in relation to the coronavirus. But yeah, I honestly, I see that happening more. I see states banning travel from certain states. I know my state, that's why I said I'm glad that I don't have any plans to travel out of state, because I probably wouldn't be able to anyways, because my state is so high in regards to cases. So yeah.
One thing I appreciate about Korean Man in the chat is he'll totally white knight for the Chinese government, which is a refreshing perspective. And that's the thing too, is that I also kind of do it, but I think people, I don't know, it like my perspective's different, right? Because I'm completely anti-government. So if I'm gonna talk about like the positive sides of any government, like the context is like I'm comparing terrorist monopolies, right? So right, I like literally democracy is a gang rape. And republicanism is a gang rape with extra steps, right? Like that's the virtue of it. That's the virtue of the so-called social contract. People talk about the amendments and the Bill of Rights like it's this awesome virtuous thing to value. I think it's garbage and I hate it. Like I've absolutely like there's no ambiguity about that, right?
Well,
but
it's the longest lasting
if we're gonna have a government,
but...
if we're gonna have a government, in many respects, there are things that I like about China that are better and more competent and more reasonable than about what the American government does. Like there is some shady shit regarding China, you know, like the Falun Gong shit, and you know the camps for the Muslims or whatever, and.
What's the name of that group? Uyghurs or something?
Yeah, and all of that stuff. And there's accusations about it being a bioweapon. There's accusations about about China trying to like blame the U.S. for creating it, which just seems like ridiculous. You know, there's a number of things you can
ambassadors saying that, when you do have ambassadors saying that, when you have people, representatives of the Chinese government saying that, you're going to then get that broad generalization with that. The fact that, you know, considering how much control the Chinese government has over its government representatives, I'm surprised that wasn't quashed if they want to complain about it now. But,
yeah, I mean but it's fair enough. But then what I do is I compare that to the U.S. We literally have the Federal Reserve, which robs the unborn through fiat. Right. Absolutely. So and there's no opposition to that. Literally, the only opposition to that was Ron Paul, and the system just cannibalized on him to ensure that he wouldn't achieve anything. So it's like, what fucking hope is there for America, really?
Yeah, I look at it this way. For me, with America, though, still why I prefer this government. And trust me, you are not wrong in criticisms of the government. I have them myself, very much so. Republican, Democrat, doesn't matter. To me, the Republicans talk out of both sides of their mouths at times. They claim about being fiscally conservative, yet once again, we're spending. That debt is going up. They talk about, not as much big government, but they sure as heck will use it when it favors them in regards to their issues. And the Democrats, they're just full on big government. So enough said there. But for me, I still can stand outside my capital. I can go to the country's capital and protest my government. I can say what I want against my government and not be persecuted. I have the right to bear arms as much as it's being attacked. I still have the right, my husband and I do, to protect our home in regards when it comes to owning a firearm. There's a number of freedoms that I absolutely am glad that I have here in America, and I don't see them in China. I don't see them in most governments around the world.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I guess my perspective is shaped by the freedoms I enjoy as an American and the freedoms that I want to maintain as an American. So I will acknowledge that's my bias, is that's what I'm coming as. That's where my perspective is that I enjoy the freedoms that this country does have that I don't see reflected in a number of governments that actually are very much authoritarian from my perspective.
No, and you're correct. You're correct. But the thing is what you're defending is the freedoms. And my argument is that, for example, the First and Second Amendments ultimately have inhibited freedom of speech and your right to bear arms, which I know sounds paradoxical. But that's...
I think I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, because what it did was it set a precedent for positively established rights, and then the government can just use that to recontextualize it. Whereas without the Bill of Rights, the presumption is, of course you have that right. Like there's nothing that says the government has the right to not do that. But of course,
Yeah,
you know,
but then
the problem is that the
What should it
Democrats
be
and
then?
activist judges, they took the general welfare clause from the Constitution, right? And they use like the interstate commerce clause. Like shit that's like totally innocuous that like the founding fathers could never have anticipated would have led to the kind of bullshit that it did. You know? So literally there's no way you can write a constitution that authoritarian shitbags aren't going to like reinterpret to fuck up.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
I think ultimately the Bill of Rights was a liability. Which is I guess like an unpopular view, but
Couldn't they just have reversed the wording, like the government doesn't have the right to take away people's arms? Wouldn't
that's what the Bill of Rights
work?
kind of was. Yeah, they said shall not
It
be
kind of
infringed.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it says the right to bear arms shall not be infringed. A militia important to, oh God, I used to have it memorized and now it's escaping me. But it's saying a militia important to, I think it was the safety or a term of to a state, the right of the people to bear arms should not be infringed. And that to me that is very clear, because the people themselves could any person at that time could be drawn into a militia. They absolutely could. So it made sense that the people then have the right to bear arms. I see that very clearly myself. Mind you, with any kind of wording, especially because English as a language has changed since that time, even interpretations of that have come about that obviously are very different. And this is what has led to that debate. I personally, the Bill of Rights, I still support it overall. I wish some aspects of it were a bit more specific. Don't get me wrong, but then I also criticize them because I criticize a lot of both Republicans and Democrats, because Republicans very much they talk about a stagnant constitution, right? Bill of Rights constitution, as in it's set in stone. That's what it is. And I'm like, but the founding fathers clearly didn't believe that, because if they believed that, first of all, you have very little faith in these men and view them as very ignorant and stuck in a certain mindset. If you don't think they acknowledge that the country would change, that the country would evolve in regards to its experience, in response to its experiences, its interactions with other cultures, and just overall within its own borders evolve in regards to views and perspectives on the world. You honestly, if you don't think the founding fathers saw that, then you actually have no respect for them. I think these were men who very much were wise enough to see that coming. And I think that's very much displayed in the Constitution itself, because if they wanted it to be set, then they wouldn't have made it so that we could alter the Constitution, that we could ratify it, that we could add to it. And they made it difficult to do that. And I agree with the fact that they made it difficult to change the Constitution, because you do want an overwhelming majority of Americans to support this. You want an overwhelming of states to support any adjustment to the Constitution itself. But they also saw wisdom and example for the Electoral College. I used to hate the Electoral College. I wanted it overturned. Now I look at it because I actually once, ironically enough, had a friend who was more left-leaning point this out to me. My left-leaning friend said to me, because I was more left at the time. Like I've said before, I was a registered Democrat. I was an activist in the LGBT community. And he goes, your whole life has been about fighting for the minority, the underrepresented. The Electoral College was created so that the majority would not rule the minority. So it actually is very much a liberal, at least how we see it today, a liberal notion. And I thought about that, and I'm like, yeah, actually. So I support the Electoral College. Plus, one vote, one voice, that did have a chance. That was voted on in the beginning of our country. It lost by one vote. I believe, if I recall correctly, it lost by one vote. We almost had equal represent. We almost had that one person, their vote counted, in regards to our election process, but they voted against it and it lost by like one vote. So at the end of the day, I support the Constitution. I have criticisms of how a little bit of criticisms of some wording and the fact that it's obviously been manipulated. But to your point, though, you said, that rights being written down can then be manipulated and denied by someone, by authoritarian types in the future. Well, if there's no guidelines, then the same thing. Those rights can just be said, well, there's no guidelines, so these rights don't exist.
Yeah, well, and that's a fair point. And basically, as you've described it, it seems that your view of the Constitution is very much in line with, Scalia, the originalist kind of perspective, because they acknowledge, yeah, we have a formal amendment system. You use that system. You don't just do this weasel word bullshit and try to cheat, whatever you want into the Constitution after the fact without having to go through the process, which is just an obvious, insane, rational, literate approach to the Constitution, which is something that basically only Republicans think. That anybody who champions the quote-unquote living document of the Constitution, what they're telling you is that they want to engage in bullshit sophistry to cheat things in and to basically pull bullshit magic tricks to manipulate it. But the issue I have with how it's written, of course, is that, the main body of the Constitution was, here's specifically what the government is allowed to do. Anything that's not in here, they are not allowed to do. And then someone says, well, let's just as a safeguard add a list of things that they explicitly cannot do. And people were like, okay, but they already implicitly can't do these things. So why are we even adding this? It's redundant. And yeah, we know the Bill of Rights is redundant, but just to be safe, we're going to add it, right? This can't possibly backfire. And it's okay, well, can we add a 10th Amendment that reiterates the fact that literally fucking anything that we didn't say you could explicitly do is reserved to the states? And they're like, yeah, we'll add that too. And it's okay, so we have this stuff. Here's what you're allowed to do. You're not allowed to do anything else. Here's an additional 9 fucking things you're literally double explicitly not allowed to do. And here's a 10th thing that triple fucking quadruple redundantly reminds you literally you can't fucking do any of this shit. And none of it mattered, right? So it's just the whole thing is, it's so stupid.
Well, welcome to America. Redundancy. Welcome to America. Redundancy is an art form.
Really though, it's like a comic joke. And here's the thing, so we have this super, any literate person can take a look at the Constitution and say oh yeah, clearly right to bear arms, freedom of speech, this all makes sense, this is pretty clear cut. But you know what they're gonna do? When Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, when she died in the past, they replaced her with a fucking deep fake. They fucking lined up a bunch of Jewish ladies and just started throwing her down the stairs to replicate her injuries, right? They're creating fucking cyborgs right now. They're fucking deep faking the bitch, right? Whatever's fucking necessary to keep the grift going.
This is why I adore you.
I just seriously.
So you mean once they actually declare her death, it's amazing, she lived for 140 years, and actually her DNA changed. Her body doesn't share the DNA of when she was a young lady. It's amazing what justice can do.
It turns out the kind of cancer she had, you can recover from, and your face changes slightly.
I know.
It's a miracle. It's a miracle. Let's make another fucking Netflix documentary.
I'm not so much big on not necessarily so much with obviously, and I've heard that theory. I've seen that stuff, and I do find it amusing because it's going to be all the more amusing, right? When Trump wins a second term, because at this point I think he's going to win a second term, given what the Democrats have to offer and the fact that his support among Americans in general is actually rising right now, not declining, despite what the mainstream media says.
Yeah, but I don't give a shit because he's a big spender president anyway.
So,
the only reason I have 2 reasons I would vote for Trump. Number 1 is Trump's Twitter. Number 2 is Melania. Those are my top 2. If I make a T-chart, I'm okay, I like his Twitter and I like his wife. Fuck his daughter. His daughter's an asshole. I hate Ivanka so much. And fuck his spending. And it's just bullshit.
I think his Twitter has become so mainstream and so iconic at this point that he'll keep it regardless of whether or not he's still in office. But I do think, because let's face it, even whether he wins another term or he doesn't, he will have something to say about politics. He absolutely will from this point on. People will be looking to that, as they do every past president, just to get input. But with this, it will be more of an amusing look back.
Honestly, yeah, I'm kind of
funny.
looking forward to him not being president because I want to see what he'll do in the future. Because he'll go back into entertainment, I feel like, right? And it's kind of like,
He
did you
probably will.
Did you see the Sarah Palin clip? Oh, I spoiled it, but they had masked dancers, right? Where they were like dancing, and you don't know who they're not dancers, singer, the masked singer. Did you hear about that at all?
No, I haven't.
Oh my god,
heard
okay.
about
We
it.
talked about this on my last stream a little bit, but basically, or maybe it was a couple of streams back, but they had a show where the singers are anonymous, so you don't know who the singers are, and one of them was like in like a bear fursuit, like literally a fucking fursona of a bear, because like boomers don't understand the implications of how like degenerate and awful that is. They just think it's cute. And then she was singing fucking, was it Baby Got Back, or was it, what fucking song was it? Or I Like Big Butts and I Cannot Lie, whatever it was. Like it was like something like ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they were trying to guess who it was, and one of them guessed Tina Fey, which is like ridiculously close, but it turns out it's fucking Sarah Palin, and everyone was like, holy shit. And like, if you remember back in 2008, she was like the devil. Everybody hated her, right? She almost got, I mean, I guess not as much, but like it wasn't the literally Hitler effect because she's still a woman, and she was like kind of like a fun bumbling kind of a character, so people didn't like see her as a threat really, but like the ridicule she got, oh my god, that cat is so cute.
Yeah, yeah.
God,
That's
I wish I
Apollo.
had a cat.
That's Apollo. We have two cats. My Deja's around here somewhere. She's big and fluffy. But I will say this. So I would actually, for me, compare Sarah Palin a little bit in regards to how people approach and have a laugh a little bit more closely to probably Joe Biden, actually. Because Sarah Palin, I remember, which Obama's first run for presidency was the first time I ever voted. I wasn't interested. I was old enough to vote prior to that. Well, one election before that, but I opted not to just because I wasn't political at the time. What was interesting though with Sarah Palin, when we got into that, was the fumbles. It was just like, obviously people twisted it a bit, I can see Russia from my backyard type of stuff. But then when she was asked certain things like, what news sources do you read? And she couldn't name a single one. She just tried to generally say she reads many newspapers and stuff like that. And the fact that she couldn't name one, not even a local, not even a hometown one, which, hey, she would have been promoting her hometown, right? She couldn't name a single one. And there were some other interesting things that just slowly started to come out, that when she was on prompter, Sarah Palin was amazing the way she spoke. Even I would admit that. But when she was in interviews and asked questions, especially when it came to foreign affairs, oh my goodness, was that a blunder? And the fact that you had McCain, who had by that time had, I think 4 heart attacks or something like that. People seeing her quite literally a heartbeat away from the presidency, it absolutely terrified them. So I actually think McCain might have had a better chance if he hadn't chose Palin. I think he just wanted to go with a different, obviously he was running against the first black candidate, right? So I think he kind of wanted a niche as well. So he chose a female VP, and unfortunately, it was not the right choice at the end of the day. Plus, there was also one article that actually kind of amused me in regards to a church that Sarah Palin was related to and had gone to, where apparently they had a portal on their second floor to heaven or something that they prayed around.
That sounds amazing.
It was so many years ago.
I love it. I wonder if that's the cult that one chick joined. But no, I actually I predicted that McCain would choose Sarah Palin as the VP. I had some friends talking about it when we were back in college. And I was like, oh, I think he should pick Palin. And people were like, are you fucking crazy? And I'm like, I don't know, maybe, but like, I think he should pick Palin.
Did you just want the entertainment?
Well, I mean, at that time, she didn't have this mystique of being like a cartoon. Like, I read a little bit about what she had done in Alaska. And I thought, oh, it sounds like she's actually kind of competent. And she's young, and pretty, kind of by cougar standards, right? Like she's easy on the eyes by political standards. She's no Tulsi Gabbard, right?
Porn, so we might have a point there.
Oh yeah, nailing Palin. yeah. Well, she's no Tulsi Gabbard. She's no coconut milk mommy. Even though Tulsi Gabbard doesn't have great skin, but you know.
I mean, she was legitimately a beauty pageant, contestant, and I think even in her home state, a winner. But we got that aside. So Sarah Palin, I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, her great thing was she did speak well to a certain demographic. Absolutely. She really spoke, especially to those that define themselves as a Tea Party. She spoke to those Americans very well. She spoke to a lot of mothers, actually. She had that whole focus on hockey. She was a hockey mom. What was it? Difference between a bulldog and a hockey mom is a hockey mom wears lipstick. And she was funny. She really was funny. But that can only take a candidate so far. The problem is once you got to the underbelly, once you scratched, that pleasantly sniffed surface, and you looked at Sarah Palin on a deeper level, she really could not withstand the scrutiny. But on the surface, I absolutely found her amusing myself. I thought she was a bit nutty, even from the beginning, but I found her amusing. I'm not going to lie. I didn't hate her. It was when I started looking below the surface and I was like, damn, this woman's nuts. Or at least she's definitely not suitable to take over if McCain has another heart attack and this one actually takes him.
At this point, I legitimately want the absolute least political person I can possibly find. Those are my favorites. Honestly, actually, I might vote for Vermin Supreme. Normally I'm anti-voting, but he's actually really cool. He's fairly intelligent too. He's playing this fun character at the whole pony party thing, and it's all very ridiculous. But if you hear interviews of him, he can actually quite lucidly explain why it is he does what he does and everything. No hope of winning, which is fine, but I think it's worth that show of support. And frankly, the chance that my one vote will reflect in his numbers is higher than the chance that my one vote would be decisive. So therefore, it's more rational to always vote for a third party, even though it's more rational always to just not vote, because it's better to save the calories and not even fucking bother.
So Biden has basically declared that he's definitely choosing a woman as his VP, although it was funny.
Oh, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant.
Andrew Yang's response to that was, well, that's not what he said on the phone, and that was kind of amusing. That's basically what Andrew Yang had said. But what I find amusing with that is, personally, if Joe Biden does go with a woman, obviously, oh God, if it's Kamala Harris, that's just, talk about that. Biden has better support among black voters than Kamala Harris or Cory Booker have had. But regardless, I personally, just because of entertainment value, I would love to see him choose with Anne-Marie Williams. Yeah, Anne-Marie Williams. Yeah, I would love to see that crystal-loving love energy. Let's fight Trump with the energy of love involved in this, just because that would just be pure entertainment.
Oh no, but but the even better thing, Trump should take advantage of
Marianne Williams.
Trump should actually create a department of energies, right? Or a department of astrology or of crystal or of healing, a department of healing, and then appoint her as bullshit head of the office. That would be amazing. Just send her a fucking salt lamp, get her a fucking salt crystal in a little room. Say, there you go, you can figure it out. Fucking divine it. That would be a total Trump move. That would be so goddamn funny. Because what's she gonna do?
That would be hilarious.
Yeah, what's she gonna do? Is she gonna not accept it? It's oh, I thought you were all about healing and love or whatever. She would totally take the bait. Exactly. And then Trump would be okay, look, I promoted all this healing. It'd be the best State of the Union fucking speech ever. It'd be amazing. But no, it's Joe Biden's irrelevant. Joe Biden is a puppet. He's there.
He is.
Yeah, it's going to be Hillary Clinton. It will be Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, I actually feel bad for Joe Biden because I feel that is it's straight up elderly abuse at this point.
Oh, whatever. He's a fucking baby sniffing pervert. I don't fucking care about him.
Well, yeah, but I mean, in general, at least in regards to the slipping of the mind, which who knows, that may just be a slip back. He thinks he's, 12. Anyways,
no, he's been doing it for decades. He's been doing it for decades.
He has. But what's interesting is, did you see him get led off the stage? I'm not sure if we discussed this last time. No, I don't think that happened then.
I don't think his wife, that.
He's been doing online speeches, broadcasts, and there's a clip at the end of one of them, he just stood there and his wife had to come up and lead him off. It's just even when they try to structure it so he comes off strong, which, okay, I watched the last debate between him and Bernie. I will give Biden credit. He performed his best. I was wondering how it would be when he didn't have other candidates to kind of get lost in the mix, but he actually performed fairly well. Now, mind you, it was
it's almost as though it's an act. It's almost as though he's actually somewhat mentally lucid and he's just playing up this fake character of like being whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's so fucking weird. Like, there was this meme going around like 2 weeks ago. If you really care about love, find someone who kisses you like Joe Biden kisses his granddaughter on the mouth. Like, what the fuck's going on there? Like, there's so much material to meme this guy. He makes Trump look like a boring person, actually.
Yeah, that's just a Chad move. Fucking make out with your granddaughter on a stage in front of the nation. Like, I wouldn't mess with a psychopath like that.
I don't know if it's so much a rural thing. So in the environment out where I'm from, it's interesting because families can be affectionate in regards to, interestingly enough, it's more affectionate, obviously, men towards women and women towards men so much. You know, men, they tend to still bond over sports and fishing. I mean, which I don't necessarily see anything wrong with, but it's interesting, and that's not coming at it from the leftist perspective. It's just coming at it from a cultural perspective in regards to this, is that I've seen pecks on the lips often between generations. A peck on the lip with a grandmother saying goodbye to her grandson, or on the cheek. And I've seen that culturally where I'm from. One thing, now I never did the kiss on the lip, at least, but like my mother, when I said goodbye to her, I often gave her a kiss on the forehead. That was just a cultural thing out where I'm from. So, I mean, as much as I love to criticize Biden, and a lot of it definitely comes across creepy, especially the sniffing, that I can't explain. I'm not even going to try to explain that one. That one I just know. But in regards to the pecs, like a peck on the lips quick or something like that, that culturally where I'm from was actually very common. So I can't completely criticize it there. But some of the stuff, yes, like that the interview where he's talking about, being a lifeguard at a pool and children playing with his leg hair because it changed color in the sun and sitting on his lap, that was just absolutely fucking disturbing. But
they made an animated. Somebody actually
bad optics that could be exploited. Like I know people around here who kiss their kids on the mouth, and it always rubs me the wrong way. But I know it's not like a pedophile incest thing. It's just a lot of people would just react like me. Like this kind of rubs me the wrong way to see that. There's something wrong about that. You know what I mean? Like it's gonna be bad for him. Like there's like when the debates were still going, it was like, who has the least amount of targets on his back for Trump to ridicule? And Biden wasn't making the cut of the top 3 least amount of things that are completely exploitable to Trump, who he's just the memester in chief, man. Like this dude gives everybody like the weirdest, and actually some of them are really funny nicknames, like Pocahontas. I mean, a lot of people now say, oh no, he called it Pocahontas. No, it was Pocahontas because she's not. And I was like, yeah, man, that's childish. This is fucking kindergarten level, but it works somehow. I don't know why.
Oh yeah, Trump is the master of that. And like how he used to call Ted Cruz Lion Ted. And then later he's like, oh, now he's beautiful Ted. It's hilarious. It's like...
Well, okay, a few things though. Trump is okay. So here's why I argue against it. When people say that Trump is racist, sexist, homophobe, all that shit, right? It's because I honestly, when it comes down to it, Trump has a lot of mentalities, a lot of behavioral habits of a toddler, of a child, and one of them is Trump likes people who like him back. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're gay, straight, black, white, male, female. If you praise Trump, he will praise you back because he responds well to affection, to praise. He is very much in that aspect a toddler. I will full on say that. I plan on voting for him in November, and I will full on say that because he's still preferable to what the Democrats are offering. So to me, at the end of the day, yes, that's one of his qualities, right? So when people would say that he's like all those things, but another thing that Trump actually, and this I do like, is that Trump has a special gift. you have Democrats, and Republicans were among this as well, especially during the primaries back in 2016. You had these politicians claiming to be above the fray, right? They were too above, sinking to another level and going low. They would, as Michelle Obama would say, when they go low, we go high. And a lot of Democrats claimed to stand by that. Trump has been especially gifted at baiting his opponents so much that they reveal that they absolutely are about going low when they need to, and very publicly so. And I will admit, that is one of the things I personally like about Trump the most, is he has actually forced people, politicians, to be faced by the reality of who they are, which they are just as petty, just as argumentative, just as childish as anyone else in the public. And that I like Trump for. Sorry.
Yeah, well, and a lot of people find that very relatable too. And again, it's just refreshing in the political thing. Okay, so I've had this tweet on the screen for a long time, and I'm gonna go ahead and just play it. So like,
just that
yeah,
shit.
only
Let's go.
40. Can we just stop and like make fun of her top though? What the fuck is that top? Because if you look at it, it looks like it's mesh over a leopard print bra.
It's netting over a green like leopard print thing.
No, but it's actually not. It's just because it's kind of like a flesh tone background. So like it's actually like a t-shirt, but the t-shirt has like this mesh kind of pattern with this just thing of leopard on it. And her little like dog tag amulet choker on too, and it's just like, what is this? And it's such bullshit because how often do we hear women complaining about like beauty standards and how, you know, like how they're seen, they're not taken seriously, and it's like literally men have to wear only a suit, and like this bitch is here officially addressing, I guess, a public health crisis and some serious issue, and this is how she's fucking dressed. It, like as offensive as what she's about to say is, just take in this image. It's just the worst thing I've ever seen. Let's see if I full screen it. I want to see how this looks on the screen. Okay, it looks okay. All right, I'll play it full screen.
It's a weird thing. Like she's a bit chubby, and there used to be like a whole line of fashion for women with that body type to make them look presentable. And nowadays they just reject that. Oh, now that's sexist. No, these designers were trying to help you. They were trying to help you.
Yeah, I know, because it was trying to hide her features, and instead she must accentuate every ripple. Every bit of cellulite must be highlighted and celebrated and named and gendered. All right, I'm going to go ahead and play this. And then there's probably, for people listening, there may be a bit of silence after I play it because I don't want to talk over the
Let us not forget that COVID-19 is a gendered crisis. Nurses, nurse aides, teachers, child carers, and early childhood educators, aged care workers, and cleaners are mostly women. They are on the front line of this public health crisis and carry a disproportionate risk of being exposed to the virus. Let's also not forget that not all homes are safe places. Quarantine or self-isolation at home will put women and children at risk. Women's advocates and domestic violence experts are warning us that domestic abuse increases during times of crisis. And I'm terribly worried that these warnings have not been heeded by this government that has long resisted adequate funding for the needed resources and refugees. Let us not forget that COVID-19 is a gendered crisis. Nurses. Needed resources and refugees. Let us not forget.
Yeah, so that's that. It's a reoccurring meme, right? Women most affected. And as I mentioned earlier, someone in Discord helpfully sent a link that demonstrates that it's more men affected than women in actual numbers. So even at the baseline, her claim is stupid and wrong, but we kind of already knew that was coming. It's kind of just a given that virtually everything that a feminist says is wrong? I'll go ahead and link that in the chat too.
Really sorry, Kevin, but you're not relevant.
Yeah.
Like you're not,
I know.
what you do doesn't matter. Like my brother's in the same business. He works in a distribution center, and it's like, no, all those guys working in those centers, all the truckers, all the men necessary to keep the system. No, they're actually lucky to work overtime, man. They don't matter. It's just like the nurses and the teachers, you know. Oh.
So it's interesting to me though, because interesting enough, Dave Rubin made a tweet about this where he had a tweet from her, and the specific tweet was obviously from Marheen Faruqi, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, whatever. COVID-19 is a gendered crisis. Nurses, nurse aides, teachers, child careers and early child educators, aged care workers, and cleaners are mostly women. Interestingly enough, a high population, especially among nurses, or increasing population, are actually gay men, but hey, whatever. They are on the front line of this public health crisis and carry a disproportionate risk of being exposed to the virus. Now, Dave Rubin shared that along with this screenshot of the Washington Post article. The coronavirus is killing far more men than women. And he shared these two screenshots together and just put social justice versus reality. And I mean, to me, that's just the embodiment of this. I feel like on the left, every social justice warrior, to use a bit of a dated term, is really coming out of the woodwork to get their piece of the social justice pie. I think this is an opportunity for them at the end of the day, and it really is. And some Democrats have said just as much. I mean, you have James Clyburn, Democrat from South Carolina. He told caucus members, let me bring up that quote. You have him. He told caucus members last week that the bill was a tremendous opportunity to restructure things to fit our vision. And that is actually a quote by this Democrat from South Carolina. So, I mean, this is honestly, it saddens me, but it doesn't shock me that this craziness of the left is really taking this opportunity to highlight itself, to express itself, and to try to make it all about identity politics. I mean, they make climate change about race, for crying out loud. So of course they're going to make this about sex. Come on.
Well, but here's the black pill though, is that what she's doing, it isn't new. You know, this is like a hallmark staple of feminism. And for example, like you mentioned environmental racism. There's also the environmental sexism angle. And literally the way you construct that argument is what you argue is that, okay, so let's say you have this small village in the third world and they have a flood. Well, women are disproportionately affected because a lot of them don't know how to swim. They don't know how to swim because women tend to not have to be subjected to situations where they have to learn that. And the same goes for virtually all survival techniques. So basically the argument amounts to, because men and boys are routinely subjected to and expected to have to develop the skills that would then in a crisis benefit them, that's not fair. You know what I mean? So it's like literally you're more likely to die at every single age. And then once you have these like crazy environmental catastrophes happen, it's like, oh, I guess the fact that I'm more fit and have more skills relevant to my survival, I guess that benefits me disproportionately. And then that's when the feminists show up to complain about sexism.
Yeah.
Which is
honestly... And I just honestly, and I know you kind of had this moment the last time I was streaming with you, because apparently you didn't know this. It's just, I think back to when I identified as a feminist, and I think you knew that. It was that I voted for Hillary. You didn't know.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I actually very much identified as a feminist, and the feminists don't get me wrong, a lot of their strategies are actually, to an extent, quite brilliant. They infected the gay community, for when it came to men, with thoughts of, well, you should hate straight men too, because they're the ones that are going to, they are against you. They hate the any femininity that you have. They hate you for it, which then translated into issues between, even within the gay community, of the masculine gay men versus the feminine gay men. So feminists have been very strategic in regards to their approach to the community and to feminism and to sex relations, especially the lesbians, in regards to that. The thing is as people wake up to it, they have to shout other things. Like for me, yes, I have the gay card, obviously, but I'm still a cis white male. So that obviously makes me so I can't be listened to. And obviously then if you're like one of my friends who's gay, black, and funny enough, Jewish, he has the male card, so he can't understand it because he's a male. And my favorite debate though is honestly to this day is the favorite standpoint when I have feminists that I know say this to me: feminism is about the equality of the sexes. I'm like, no, it's not. If it really was about the equality of the sexes and addressing issues concerning both sexes, where are the feminist protests about men killing themselves at higher rates, dying on jobs at higher rates? Where is all this activism in the feminist community? And they're like, there are some feminists who are focused on this. And I'm like, please show me them. Show me their events.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that to be a smartass. I'm not saying that to be a smartass. I am genuinely asking you, show me where this discussion is happening among feminists. Show me where events are happening. Show me where approaches of policy to change this is happening in feminism, and we can have that discussion. None of them can do this. Not a single one to this date has been able to do that for me.
No, they can't, because they haven't thought it through. It's very emotional, immediate style thinking. I did want to. I don't want to spend too much time on this one.
Yeah.
But on this new one I have. I mean, but I thought I'd bring it up just because it was kind of like it was fairly new. What date is it? Mm-hmm. Oh, it's the 27th now. Okay. Because I didn't hear about this until this morning.
Just to interject something, I was told by verily to excuse him. He was robbed on Monday, and robbers threatened him. So he probably will be back next week.
Oh shit! I'm sorry to hear that. That's fucking.
Oh wow.
I know he's been trying to move and then had to move again, and he's down in South Africa, which he insists.
Apparently the robbers were quite stupid. They didn't even take all of his valuables, but they still threatened him. So yeah, just wanted to put that in there somewhere because he told me just to excuse him based on what happened there. Yeah, but I hope he's going to be all right. He sounded quite cool about it. But yeah, you don't want that to happen to anyone you like,
No, yeah, that's pretty shit. I mean, I don't know what you say. I mean, I'm glad that it sounds like he wasn't like physically harmed. It sounds like he was only robbed. Not to downplay getting robbed, but that's,
Sorry, and just so you know, I wasn't laughing at that. I saw the comment, just dye your beard pink and become non-binary. And I'm assuming that was definitely a reference to me. I've had people send me pictures of men with flowers in their beard quite often, or glitter, as a suggestion. But dye it pink, I haven't had that one yet.
Yeah, or you do the TFM thing where you identify as a masculine presenting transgendered lesbian. Or I guess in your case, it'd be a masculine presenting just transgendered. Because since you're gay, you don't have to add the you don't have to add the lesbian step. That's for straight men. You have to add lesbian, right? But, you end up with less diversity points all around. But but you're already white, so you weren't cashing in on that shit anyway.
But that's what's great about this diversity culture is you can just say it now. So,
yeah, right.
You know, I know it's jokingly, but what would the left honestly do? I know its head would freaking explode if Trump was like, I'm identifying as a woman now, therefore I'm the first female president. They would like, I mean, what do they do when they have that conflict? Obviously, they focus on other things, but it's interesting to see the left try to deal with a conflict of victimhood in it. And to me, the biggest highlighting of that was in relation to the gay community versus, Islam back in the day when I was an activist. That was an interesting discussion to see had to the point where I noticed that one of the groups that I was a part of, one of the activist groups I was a part of, they pretty much started silencing, not talking so much about the issues impacting the gay community. I'm going to be specific, the gay and lesbian community. Trust me, they were full on still about talking about the trans community because that's popular at the time. And then, of course, you have like Saudi Arabia that, they do transition surgery. So, yay, I guess.
They force people to transition.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
exactly.
I just wanted to make sure that was that Iran. Okay.
Yeah.
Same shit.
Iran,
they're all fucking. They're all raghead countries.
So Saudi Arabia, I'm doing with the oil thing. I have so many things I'm focused on right now. But so regardless, because then you had like Riley Dennis saying, hey, they support, there's progression. I'm like, these are primarily gay men being forced to and lesbians forced to transition. Primarily gay men, or either that or face life in prison or death. But regardless, this is kind of where we were in regards to here in the States as activists, is that I noticed when these two worlds came into conflict, the left doesn't handle it well. And then what they do is, this is where their intersectionality really comes into play, because then they find an LGBT person, a gay man or a lesbian who identifies as Muslim, and they're like, see, we can put these two worlds together. And I'm like, yeah, show me what mosques they go to. Show me, send them to one of the countries in the Middle East and have them preach how Allah loves gays and lesbians. Show me how this goes. Now, granted, Christianity has a long history in regards to this too. Don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, you do have more of an evolution in regards to Christianity than you do in regards to Islam. I'm critical of organized religion across the board, personally. And that was actually, as I've said before, that was one of my first wake-up moments, was when I posted criticisms of Christianity, and my friends loved and shared that. But as soon as I did the same thing with Islam, similar criticisms of Islam as I had been for a long time Christianity, that's when I got called a bigot and everything. So seeing the left respond to that has been amusing, because that's, like I said, really where they try to find that intersectionality, and it's so amusing to watch them struggle with it. It's honestly, at this point, it's sad. It's sad more so than it is amusing when at this point, because they really are struggling, especially because you have the Democrats going on so much about diversity, and their two leading candidates right now are old white men. I know Bernie's Jewish, but let's face it, he's not so much in practice. He really hasn't referenced his Jewish heritage until this point. So
yeah. It's totally like inauthentic, and the whole thing is like that too. It's so tiresome that's why I flamboyantly now identify as an anti-racist, because I can't fucking stand it. Like the entire, and I'm very serious about it. Like I very seriously am sick of anti-racist, and I have zero patience for this whole nonsense of like, you get accused of racism and then you have to just like prove that you're not racist. And I'm like, so fucking what if people are racist? Like, as far like on the list of things that are important to deal with, racism, 0%. That's not the top 10. That's not the top 100. It's a dead meme. It was exploitation from the beginning. It's all bullshit, and I just hate that our entire like cultural landscape has to be wrapped around it. Also, now that we can just like bullshit identify as whatever race, me and Claire Ka, I'm gonna convince her to trade races. because she's Asian and clearly a race traitor who wants to go to the West and be white, and I'm clearly a race traitor that wants to be Asian. So we should just trade races and then solve the problem.
You know, like trade the race.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're gonna stop being race traitors and we'll start being race traders, and then all will be right.
Traders.
On the other thing from earlier,
Emphasize that, D.
Oh, you know what? Our mutual friend Jen, Church of Entry, she can help us out, because if she guides us through the Enlightenment, then after we both die, we can make sure that we're reincarnated in the right bodies.
Can't you just claim to be anime Asian? Because they look very Caucasian anyways.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, some people think I look Asian, and I'm like, thank you. Or they think I like Kappa. They're like, wait, you're not?
On the other thing that you mentioned, like they left in Switzerland 2 years ago. They forced to include the sexuality and if they're trans in the crime statistics of the victims. So to show that there's a growing trend of violence against gays and trans people. And then when they were asked, when people said, okay, can we also get the religion of the perpetrators of the crimes? No, don't be Islamophobic. And nobody mentioned Islam. So you know it's growing because of the growing number of Muslims who will attack gays and trans people, and okay, so
yeah, we know which cards trump in that way that plays out.
Exactly. and you had that highlighted here in America, to be honest. I mean, well, ironically by a Canadian, I mean, years ago, a long time ago, Steve Crowder did a video where he went into a Muslim bakery and asked for a wedding for a same-sex, asked for a cake for a same-sex wedding, and he was denied. Now, what's interesting is that if you notice that every single focus on business in regards to discrimination was targeted towards Christians.
Yeah, because Christians have a bullshit morality that was fed to them by non-Christians, I won't say who, in order to basically make them a bunch of people who get walked over. And then the Christians celebrate. They're like, oh yeah, turn the other cheek, that's a good idea. And everybody else is just like, ha ha ha, we tricked them into adopting this. I get that's very conspiratorial, but recently that was a theory that was presented to me, and I think there's something to it. I think that actually makes a lot of sense.
I personally love my friends who are very conspiratorial, who very much invest in conspiracies, because I find conspiracies fascinating. I'm still more of a critic, and I do look for proof, but I absolutely love hearing conspiracy theories because they're very fascinating to me. I love them. They're fascinating to me, from the ones that you honestly make you think, that actually could be possible if you think about it, to just the ones that are so imaginative. And so overall, at the end of the day, trust me, I will never be upset hearing a conspiracy theory, because in general, I love hearing them.
Do you know Gelcord Schuler?
Huh?
Do you know Gail Cord Schuler? Okay,
no,
so she's my favorite. She's probably actually schizophrenic. I don't think she's just playing a character, because she's been doing it for so long. But man, I don't even know where to begin with her. But basically, she thinks that how there's conspiracy theories about Jews, but there's also conspiracy theories about Jesuits, and also about Freemasons and Knights Templar and the Illuminati. But basically, the people who believe in every single one of them, they think that the Jesuits are actually what controls literally everything. And so all of the conspiracy theories are all actually secretly controlled by the Jesuits. And she believes that she has found she thinks that she's been divinely inspired to rewrite the Bible. So she's rewriting the Bible, the New Testament, as the Bible for tribulation saints. And she can speak mind to different people, including the Antichrist, and the Antichrist changes form. And basically the earth exists in a bubble, because the universe is just a whole sea of Jesuit seamen. And the only reason that the Earth hasn't been engulfed in what does she call it?
Damn, that's a lot of semen, man.
Yeah, it's a bukkake tsunami. She has a funny word for it.
So that's why
the
why nuts
nukkake.
never runs too far out there, because they just don't want to get all the jizz on them, you know?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Is so the only thing holding the nukkake, right, the nukkake at bay is the Gale Shield, and the Gale Shield is what keeps the Earth in the semen bubble. And once the Gale Shield breaks, we're all just gonna get drowned in Jesuit cum. And that's like what she believes.
Well,
and she's been on YouTube. She's been making these videos for many years, perfectly in character. And she has the Gale commandments that you have to follow, which are like, thou shalt spend as little money as possible, and thou shalt take Seroquel every day. Right?
Well, I was gonna say you can find that, you know, covered in the cum thing on Grindr. Well, not now. They've shut down the app temporarily. Apparently,
wow,
according to
really?
some of my friends.
Mine is still up, but I can't. Nobody wants to meet it. Because we're doing social distancing so well that I can't even have sex.
I saw posts from friends saying first they were doing advisories on the Grindr app, and then they just shut it down completely in response to coronavirus because, you know, leave it to the gay men. We're sure as hell not gonna, you know, we practice social distancing based on inches, not feet. So it's just like, yeah, I just found that very amusing at the end of the day. But so yeah, no, I
honestly though, I believe that the community on Grindr would be so much more toxic that they would need to shut the thing down straight up. I'm still fucking banned on Tinder, even though I didn't even do anything. I literally, the moment I go to America, because Americans can see my profile, some non-binary twat sees my profile and fucking bans me, and it's like man, I write the profile in such a way to so that if you see it and you don't like it, you swipe right? It's a very simple system. Like, why are we fucking banning people on Tinder? Right? Like we should encourage people to advertise themselves as toxic cunts. You know? I don't understand.
That's always been my view on that. I mean, because then honestly, don't you want to know who someone actually is on these things? That's to me, like, personally, like, for example, that's why I've never been about silencing, you know, the haters, as they say. I would rather the Westboro Baptist Church, for example, be able to spout what it spouts, because I want to know who people are. Personally, I want to know who people are. And if you listen to them, they will let you know who they are. So why would I want to ban their freedom of speech? Why would I want to push them underground? Because first of all, then you create more of a victim mindset, which is dangerous at the end of the day. And I just overall, absolutely not. But I mean, it's funny enough to get back to that semen-soaked world, apparently. I actually am on a Facebook ban that I think just expired about an hour or so ago. I was Facebook banned for sharing for a post I made in 2017. And I just thought it was funny because...
Are your bans still less than 30 days?
They can be. I've had 30-day bans. I've had a few 30-day bans.
I've never seen that before, because usually once you're at 30, then you always hit a 30.
Yeah, no, it's weird.
They keep changing the rules, so I never know what it is. But now you can DM people even if you're banned, which is nice.
Yes. So you can't send certain things though. Like I've had trouble sending video links and stuff like that. But what's interesting is I tried to send GIFs and I couldn't send that. But it's amusing because yes, I have been in a number of bans, and always like I get my 30-day ban, then I go back to like a 24-hour ban, then a week ban, then I go back to a month ban. It's and knock on wood, you know, that's like how it's been for me. But it's interesting. So this meme I sent was they said, "Stop the racism. We were all white once." And in the picture is a pile of, it's some semen. And
that's really funny.
It was semen on like a wooden floor or something like that. And yeah, it said, and it did. It said, stop the racism. We were all white once. And I posted this in 2017, and Facebook just now is punishing me for it. So I found that very, very amusing.
Wow, from so many years back. That's ridiculous. I had that from like a few months, and I thought that was absurd. But to go back years, like, well, I'm fucked. The moment Facebook like cares and notices, the moment it's humans and not robots coming after me, all my shit's getting shut down. Same thing with this channel. Like I actually so one of my friends mentioned to me like, "Oh, you should run for office. That'd be great." And I'm like, literally the only reason I would ever run for political office would be just to bait controlled opposition into digging through my YouTube channel, because there'd be this hilarious onslaught of articles of just like crazy shit I've said, and it would be like so awesome to see all of that just like compiled into one place. Of like all this, like it's like, wow, he promotes lesbian conspiracies and said all this anti-Semitic shit and fucking like did this and did that and blah blah blah, and he fucking calls everyone terrorists, and he said he thinks we should blow up the Federal Reserve, and he fucking compared the victims of the Tree of Life synagogue to people attending a sacred gang rape, and like and he thinks child labor should be legal, and like and get rid of minimum wage, and like just like literally like I just rattle off the top of my head like 20 fucking things that like the average person just think are like unconscionably horribly offensive, that like I 1000% defend every single thing I've said.
So I don't have anything to say. I don't have anything that that much, but I've actually had friends say that I should run for office as well, and I have said that pretty much my mid-20s guaranteed that I'd never be able to run for office and probably win, more so because a lot of my wilds. So I would not be electable, I think, on the right or the left. I think on the right because I don't apologize for it, because I look at my life and my experiences and what I did. Are there things that I wouldn't recommend others doing? Absolutely. Did I make some stupid decisions? Absolutely. But I can't say that I regret them, because they helped turn me into the person I am, and I like that person at the end of the day. So I refuse to apologize for them. Even the things that I don't like that I did, or that I felt were wrong that I did, or not the wisest decisions, I acknowledge that they played an important role, even a more important role, in shaping who I am, because I learned from them. So I absolutely don't regret them, and I'm not going to apologize for them. On a whim, I went down to New York City to have fun with a guy that I had never met in person before. I did some crazy stuff, and I did some crazy partying. I did a lot of crazy partying that, from the right perspective, especially the socially conservative and religiously conservative, would definitely make me unelectable. Then there's things.
Oh yeah, right. Though, have you seen like Turning Point USA and all their fucking bullshit? They don't give a shit. They'd be like, "Wow, what virtue?" They'd support it. Shit. Did you get caught? Were you passed out in a hotel room with a gay prostitute high on meth? Did that happen to you? Right? Because literally that guy is like gonna keep trying to be in politics, and like
he's a Democrat. Cares. He's a Democrat, so that.
Okay, well,
that
how? So if you're gonna explain, okay, so why won't the Democrats ever elect you? Before we get into this,
no, I said Republican. The Republican won it.
No, I know, but you covered that, and then you said why would, and then what the? Oh, and then the Democrats will hate you because you're on this stream, and they'll be like, why is this person your friend?
Yeah, first of all, yes,
you
I
have
would be
to
criticized.
go full Trump. You have to want to run for Republicans, but then run for the Democrats instead. Like Trump wanted to run for the Democrats, and then he ran for the Republicans.
I know.
Just embrace.
And he said he would do that too. It's amazing. People dig that quote up, and they're like, "Oh my God, Republicans are so stupid." And it just makes me love Trump even more. Like,
see, that used to be my thing when people would say before Trump, people would say, "Oh, you should run for office," and I'd be like, "Well, I'm too much of an asshole to ever get elected." And then Trump won, and I'm like, "Well, fuck."
Yeah, right.
That
Fuck
excuse?
Me. Okay, but the reason I want to get to this article now, while Korea Man is here, is because he'll have something interesting to say about it. But I don't know. It's this story I saw about the U.S. Navy launching missiles to warn China. Unusual drill in the Philippine Sea, a signal to the PLA that American forces can counter advanced threats, military observers say. Exercise designed to support security and stability in the Indo-Pacific. So I don't know. I don't really. I'm not much of like a military tactician type because libertarians we don't like to think about that shit. We're just like, no, just close all the bases. Fuck you, right? Which I get people. They don't like that. That's not very nuanced. But I don't. Whatever. I think that makes perfect sense. I think that military people they take themselves way too seriously. But somebody had commented that they think that all of this is actually just gay ops of Trump and Xi Jinping just pretending that they're not getting along, right? So they're just doing like fake military back and forth bullshit to convince the world into thinking that like, ooh, some serious shit's going down, right? Because it gives them both some leverage in their negotiations.
Well, they're dick measuring right now. No, no, it's I don't know. It's honestly at the end of the day, because even Trump, politicians are interesting when it comes to how they address, even perceived adversaries, because you have Trump basically refers to every world leader as a friend of his for the most part, and then he criticizes the hell out of them, but then he'll refer to them as a friend as well. It's it's something that has amused me, especially. But I don't know. I'm not so much, like I said, I'm not a major conspiracy theorist, but I do feel that there is a game behind this because Trump, especially given that it is Trump, we are talking about a reality TV icon, for crying out loud. We are talking about a man who for several seasons created drama for the entertainment of the public on a television show. So I don't think it's that far of a stretch to believe that he would bring that into politics a little bit. And of course, the media loves it, so they jump on it, and Trump knows that. So, I mean, like I said, I'm not that big into, while I may not be a conspiracy theorist majorly, I totally could see Trump playing a game in regards to the public and in relationship with other countries, and then behind it there being a very different discussion taking place. I could totally see that. I don't think Trump is beyond that.
Well, and actually, the dishonesty of that could even be justified in terms of like preventing, economic catastrophe or even outright war. So I guess I'm inclined to want to believe that that's something that's happening because I have some faith in Trump's ability to kind of manipulate those situations in advantageous ways, and it'd be nice for that to be true. I really hope that America and China don't go to war, especially because China's allies with Russia and like Saudi Arabia, I think.
I don't think that
they recently did like war games together, right, as like a show of like strength and prowess or whatever. And I'm just like, I don't know. That seems like a pretty solid. Like if we were playing in a game of what's the game? Not Risk, but oh, what's that fucking game? The game where everybody has like different countries that you all take over.
Oh,
like a board game.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I just can't recall it. I know what you're talking about. I've seen it advertised in the past.
Well, I've played it. It's a fun game. Here's the funny part. The last time I played it, we were playing it with a bunch of people in college, and one of them was a guy from Korea. And as soon as the Korean guy lost, he got angry and he like nuked the whole board. Which he was South Korean, which makes it less funny. But I just say he's Korean because then people think he's North Korean because then it's funny. And I'm like, hey, like that should be. Was it Stratego? No, it is Risk. So when I said Risk, I was
Risk is the one where you have like a starting country, right?
Yeah. It was Risk. I was thinking of Stratego, but
yeah.
Asking what happened. I guess what happened is there was some missile launches from the U.S. Navy in the sea, and it's like and like I don't know what else you would interpret from that. No, Paulo, not Civilization, but Civilization I guess would kind of fit the mold. I like Civilization, but it's just a fucking dressed up math problem. And if I'm gonna have a dressed up math problem, I want it to be a shitty JRPG.
Yeah. See, I don't
what's
think.
the thing about those missiles? Like they were like these new missiles that are hard to shoot down or something. Like they proof of concept thing. I don't know. Like the Russians claim they can shoot them down.
Yeah, I don't really know what to make of it. I'm very agnostic on this. I'm kind of perplexed. Which I'm feeding into all the goddamn stereotypes of like, once you have an anarcho-capitalist society, we're just gonna get fucking invaded because like assholes like me don't know dick about fucking warfare, and it's like, okay, fine, like whatever.
I don't think that we will ultimately go to war with China. I mean, let me put, with the information I have. With what I see, I don't think we will. I think we will have tensions, of course, partially because of people like myself, I'm not gonna lie. But at the end of the day, I think it's more of those mutual destructions to an extent. Because China has like a lot of our debt. China relies on America a lot, economically speaking, and we rely on China a great deal more than we care to admit. And obviously, that's been highlighted during this whole situation with the coronavirus. I mean, from medications to all kinds of stuff, that's really been highlighted there. So at least at this point, unless we really become more independent as nations and untwine a lot of that decades of intertwining and stuff like that since Nixon really got China to open up and stuff. I don't think that's going to happen because I really think that that the leaders at least see any approach to that. We're going to bolster. We're like two cocks in a hand. We're posing and stuff like that. But I don't think we're actually going to go at each other at this time because it is that mutual destruction. Russia is just in there to antagonize because I think they find it fun. But and plus they have their own games that they're playing, which is all the more reason I don't think China and Russia would actually survive as allies in any large degree, is because they're very similar in their distrust of the world and in their plotting behind everything. And they both have that image of the governments hide everything, not seen as very open about stuff that's going on. So I don't think that alliance would last long, to be honest. Eventually they'd eventually turn on each other. So yeah, could we have a conflict with Russia? I think that could be more probable, to be honest. I actually think that would be more probable. Now, would China come in on that? I don't know. I honestly think China would weigh its options as to who would likely come out ahead on this and what would benefit them ultimately, Russia or us. And I still think for economic reasons, they would probably choose us.
But they're allies with Russia, so that could actually. Right, that would look bad. I mean, Korea, man, says Russia has less economic or industrial output than Italy. I find that hard to believe.
Which, look at Italy, right? They switched.
To me.
Speaking of Italy, they switched. So you're looking at countries switch too,
Yeah, maybe. Sorry. I mean, because ultimately, like, nobody truly wins a war, Anybody who has to go to war, you lose, and you just want to lose less. It's actually basically the only thing that I like about Abraham Lincoln is that he engaged in total war. Everything else about him, like, I fucking hate, and like I'm glad he got assassinated, and I wish it had happened earlier, and I wish the South had won the war and engaged in total war because, like, seriously, like, fuck the North. It's like the worst country ever. I don't even know how to. Anyway,
I might disagree with you there on obviously the South in any way hoping that they had won that, but I'm more so, it's interesting to me is the misunderstanding of Lincoln. Lincoln is obviously not the pacifist type that a lot of people now tend to view him in hindsight. Like they see him as...
Do people think that about him, that he was a pacifist? He literally provoked the South into starting the war, like, deliberately.
So he's seen as the man who ended slavery, a great injustice. He's seen for a lot of people as this man who ultimately, yes, it had to be done through conflict, but ultimately he brought the country together.
Yeah, so and it's so dumb. I hate that perspective so much.
But Lincoln said a lot of things. I mean, he personally didn't agree with slavery, yes, but he was very clear about his ultimate focus was the survival of the Union. And he does have that quote. If it meant keeping every slave in chains, then so be it. If it meant freeing, then so be it. He just eventually had to realize that that was the only option. And
but that's the thing. Like nobody questions that. Is they're like, yeah, of course preserving the Union is more important than liberating the slaves. And it's like, the fuck it is. Like, just let them secede. They want to secede. You have the right to secede. This is common sense. And frankly, American slaves had basically like the same standard of living as like a Russian peasant at the same time, which is certainly better than being a captive person or a slave in Africa. And certainly, like, the descendants of American slaves ended up better off than basically anyone in Africa. So the real injustice of slavery apparently was that I guess the slaves didn't get their fucking money's worth. They should have just hired people to do the jobs anyway and just avoided all the fucking drama.
There were the deaths and the rapes and
the deaths and the rapes and whatever. Okay,
yeah. Oh my goodness.
We're gonna split hairs over whatever. A rape here, a death here, a war there.
But I will say this one thing actually for me that comes out of these wars too is that the power of government as a result of every war grows, and that is deeply concerning. Obviously, I mean, slavery was it was an atrocity and absolutely needed to be done away with, but the war as a result gave government more power, just like the Revolutionary War. Ironically, it gave the government more power at the end of the day. So this is, and then we have increases of taxes occurring as well. So it's interesting because even the wars, even for me, wars that I see as to a degree justifiable wars, I still have to acknowledge that ultimately they've resulted in more government power, government overreach, and higher taxes and restrictions of freedoms on the people. So I have to acknowledge that duality when it comes to wars, even wars that I feel were fought over justified reasons. I have to acknowledge that. So
yeah, well, and that's where a lot of the concern regarding coronavirus comes from in the West, right? Which is why like the Asians are cracking down on it so much more effectively, whereas in America we're all like, wait a minute, we remember Lincoln and we remember all this bullshit and we remember World War II and we remember the fucking temporary income tax and we remember all the stuff that should have been temporary that's not, right? All of a sudden we remember all this shit, And I want to be on record tyrant, and I'm glad he got assassinated, and I wish it had happened earlier. That being said, yeah, I get that, there's going to be government overreach with coronavirus, but, that ship sailed a long fucking time ago. And, that battle's being fought, and basically, you got vermin supreme, or you got fucking nothing.
Well, okay, so I will say this. It definitely is like government overreach at this point to try to say both parties support it when all chips are down. You just have one party claim that they don't support it. But there's an interesting
and it makes the Republicans worse. Yeah. It makes the Republicans worse than the Democrats.
I will say that the Democrats, I can give them this. The Democrats are honest about their big government, right?
Well, the neolibs aren't, but there are some true believers. If you're a Republican and a true believer, you go libertarian. If you're a Democrat and a true believer, you're shit out of luck. Which is probably why they're fucking Antifa. That's probably why they're in the fucking street. Maybe we should just have Libertarian Party phase out so we can have real right-wing anarchists too. I don't know.
It's so weird, like this narrative, like we're gonna have government overreach if we take over, but we're gonna give you a government reach around,
pros and cons. Hey man, if we're getting fucked either way, you might as well take the fucking with more lube. We got a couple of T-charts and.
No, I definitely agree. And as I was saying that during election years, a lot of Republicans act like Democrats. And To a degree, that is absolutely true, especially in purple and blue states. But I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, when I look at other countries, and like I said, I know America is the only country I've ever lived in, so I don't have the experience of living in other countries. But having spoken to a lot of people internationally, and having discussions, mind you, that then itself is anecdotal. But also having read about other countries, their constitutions and their governing policies, their implementation, their beliefs when it comes to the individual freedoms, individual rights, and stuff like that, I still would prefer living in America over any other country out there that I have ever researched or have any familiarity with, whether it's interacting with someone or reading about them, because I don't know, it's just at the end of the day, and like I said, the biases, things that are important to me, at least right now in America, are still freedoms. And yes, there's elements fighting against that, but yeah, I don't know. I know we all have our bias with stuff like that, but yeah, I couldn't imagine, like, I know you're there, but I couldn't imagine living in China right now.
Here's the thing. So I enjoyed living in China. My only issue is they didn't have very good internet. But in Hong Kong, you basically have all of the modern Western amenities, plus you get like kind of some of like the Chinese flavor also. But Hong Kong's like it's totally its own thing too. So
when does that agreement expire, by the way? I know there was
there's
the agreement.
There's 35 or something more years left on it.
2047, I think.
Yeah, well, that's why I came here when I did. Is I was like, okay, well, I might as well show up before, before everything is taken over or whatever. Spacepan is honorary Han. I'll take it. I'll fucking take it. I'd rather be fucking Han than fucking Amerima. No offense.
Because I saw, question, what about this though? Because, I did see, protesters with the American flag, stuff like that. I actually watched a couple of interviews where people were like, bring the British back. And
oh yeah, you would love those fuckers. You would love them. I can't fucking stand them. I'm just like, oh, fuck you, democracy cucks. Fucking ruining my little perfect limbo of like this tiny window into what capitalism might be like if the communists just fucked off for 50 years. No, we have to have democracy instead. Whatever. I have like one IRL friend here, and he's like totally kind of on board with all the stuff the protesters are doing, and I give him shit all the time, and I'm just like I'm just like an absolute like monster to him constantly, but he like tolerates it because I have the best friends. It's amazing. It's amazing I have any friends, to be honest. Like, I don't hide my power level. The way I am on these streams is basically exactly how I am in real life, because what I figure I can do is, like, if I offend someone, then they're going to not want to tolerate me or be around me, and then I don't have to worry about it. So I just, this fucking autism choo-choo train, it goes one way. and like, it's very simple. I just wish more people were like that.
Well, I will admit, sorry, go on.
It's just if the Brits took over again, the term Asian grooming gang would become more confusing as it already is.
Oh my god.
So guys, the next article I have is this one from Wired about electric panties to prevent rape. And they have this like super cool transhumanist banner up here, which I've just been leaving up because it looks so cool, and I actually really like the aesthetic. I don't know. Have you guys heard of before I even get into this article, I haven't read it yet, so I'm going in blind, but have you guys heard of the Rape X condoms?
No, I mean, I've heard of a device, what was that, in Africa, where somewhere on the continent of Africa, I forget where it was, where it's a device that women can insert to where it will pretty much tear up the penis.
Yeah,
when
that's
a man tries to rape her.
Yep, that's basically it. It's like a tube with a bunch of barbs in it, right? And they stick it in there. Yes. And the idea is like, you're a woman in Africa, and you're going to go out clubbing, but you're afraid you're going to get raped because you live in South Africa. Sorry, Jay Willie. Sorry, but like that's literally the stereotype for a goddamn reason. It's the rape capital for like. I am legitimately worried about him. He tells people like, "Oh no, I'm from South Africa. It's a safe place. It's a great place." And I hear he gets robbed, and that's where my fucking mind goes. Is I'm just like, he's gonna get fucking like tire necklace. He's gonna get fucking like murdered in a horrific way.
I think it's also culturally what you were put up with, because I talk to people in high crime areas, and to them, they don't see anything wrong with the environment sometimes because it's just what they've become accustomed to. So I think it's also a matter of what you've become accustomed to. If you're accustomed to something just being a daily part of life, you don't necessarily, there's a point where you don't necessarily see it as a negative thing. You just see it as a point of life. So when it gets highlighted, you're like, no, things aren't as bad. And
I just hope, I hope he lives to prove me wrong.
Yeah, me too. But it's kind of like the Sadiq Khan, mayor of London, saying terrorism is part and parcel of living in a large city. Like, the fact that didn't create public outrage kind of proves that he hits the perception of reality of the Londoners there. And that was actually more upsetting to me than him saying that nobody really got outraged about. Like, oh yes, he is part and parcel of living in London. Like, why not? Like, Jesus fucking Christ, you shouldn't accept that to be part of reality.
No, I agree. That is absolutely crazy. So I do want to discuss this.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. What? You want to
I know. I just said to let you know that I do have an early shift in the morning, so I can be with you for probably about 20 more minutes. Then I do have to say goodbye.
Okay, so you know what? I'm gonna power through some of this article, and then I'll see if you have any thoughts on it, and then we'll go from there. So let's see. So to combat sexual assault, women are resorting to electric shock underwear. Ekaterina, oh my god, this fucking name. Ekaterina Romanovskaya froze. Which, like, this is totally a fucking made-up name. This is your goddamn, like, World of Warcraft name. This is your StarCraft fucking handle. Anyway, it was a warm and sunny day in late May 2000, and the 25-year-old interpreter had just dropped her 3-year-old daughter. Oh my god, I don't fucking care. Jesus. She didn't recognize the man that she saw. Everything. Yeah, right? It's just bullshit. This is like a goddamn recipe, right? Where it's like, you click on an article that's like, simple 3-ingredient recipe that'll blow your mind. 0 carbs and all the protein. And then it's like, one day I was in college and I discussed with my roommate about how metaphysics is a bunch of fucking bullshit. And then we only had ramen packets, but then she said that has too many carbs. So then we went down to the store and it's like you're literally like fucking 4 pages down until you finally fucking see the goddamn recipe. And that's what she's doing with my fucking electric anti-rape underwear. Oh, fuck, that just hit back. I tried to clean my screen, and it... Fuck. Where's the... I tried to clean my screen, and it literally... What did it do? Can I undo that? What the fuck? I keep forgetting that I got a new laptop... And my screen is... Okay, here it is. Sorry, what?
Yeah. It is kind of in reference to this, to the extent, at least in regards to the preventative rape. I see the comment in there as, in fact, I'd rather live in Wuhan than in Chirac. In fact, after college, I basically chose to move back to the motherland, Korea, and not live in the U.S. because I've experienced violent crime from diversity firsthand to many times in the States. Now,
black people fucking hate Asians. It's like a weird thing.
Yeah. Well, I've noticed that. First of all, I have absolutely noticed that back and forth. I definitely noticed that even in college. But more so, what's interesting? I mean, you go back to the LA riots, right? You had Asian markets, businesses in general, being more targeted than any others by the rioters, and you had protecting their shops. But yeah, so regardless of that history, it is interesting because to me it's also a matter of perspective, right? Where originally where I'm from, I absolutely could walk at 11 o'clock at night and not worry about a damn thing. I'm from small town, rural America. And yes, there's some rednecks that are freaking crazy out there, don't get me wrong. But overall, at the end of the day, I had no worry about walking the streets of my hometown at 11 o'clock at night or being out there and about. The area I'm in now, certain areas you would not want to do that. Absolutely. Don't get me wrong. I'm not even in a big city per se, but there's a lot of areas that are perfectly fine. It's actually experiencing a little bit of a comeback, and areas are improving. But regardless, I think that's then more a matter. I'd want to ask this person where they live. Did they really experience a whole different diverse experience of America, not in regards to demographics, but in regards to location. Because I want to move back to small town, rural America myself. I miss it because it is a very different environment. Yes, there's issues facing it, but there is less of that on your mind. And when it comes to like the issues of guns, for example, I understand that my country raising also gives me a different perspective. I come from a culture where guns are used to feed your family, to feed yourself, and to protect your home. In general, that's what the purpose of guns are, not to go and hold up a liquor store. Not to say that that doesn't ever happen. It does in those areas, but the general view on guns is for self-preservation. In general. So I don't know. I mean, I personally still, even with that, Chirac, Chicago, that's a whole, I wouldn't live there either. Trust me. I fully, if that is your experience of America, then absolutely, I understand wanting to move the heck out of America. If honestly, your experience is Chicago or, certain cities in California, or even to an extent, New York City, I can absolutely full on understand and support you wanting to get the hell out of America.
He clarified in the chat that it was somewhere on the West Coast that he lived. So it must have been like California or maybe Washington State.
Okay. Okay, yeah, the West States, yeah, if you're, especially those cities.
Because they're not going to have that culture that you just described, like not at all.
No. Oh, yeah. Goodness, no, absolutely not. They're not going to have that. No, absolutely not. That is, no. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are some rural parts of California, but no. In general, you're not going to find that on the very coast of California or like no, the West at all, no. Or even to an extent, it's degrading on the East Coast too. You do have some areas along the coast on the East where you still find that, but there's a degradation. There's a degradation of that as well. But still, so I can understand from what's being described, if you were in those environments, why you'd have that perception. It is leftism. It is, to an extent, it's that left liberalism. It's that mindset that has created that problem. I fully agree with that. I just still, at the end of the day, like I said, it comes back to the freedoms for me. Me and my husband, whether we're living here or whether we're living in the country, we're gun owners. I like the fact that we can own a gun. I like the fact that we can protect our home, that is our legal right. I mean, I'm actually connected to the group Pink Pistols. Funny enough, they had to call themselves that, of course. The name. Yeah, the name before that, well, one of the two groups combined. There was Pink Pistols originally, and then there was another group called Blazing Sword. And when
I think
they
Pink
combined,
Pistols at least has the alliteration, but
well,
I'd be disappointed in you if you weren't a member of either one of the groups.
Yes. Well, it's funny. No. Okay, because, hey, I still think Pink Pistols is better than what the anti-gun gay community has. And they have Gays Against Guns GAG. That is actually their name.
That makes me gay. I hate it.
I went to Pride with my husband a couple years ago, and we're walking, and my husband's like, "Hey, want to go up to that table there and say hi?" And I'm like, "What?" And I look, and it's GAG, and I'm like, "Oh no, we are not. No. No.
Just no. Well, hey, do you know my story about when I met the three pers? I don't know if I told you this one. I mentioned it on another stream.
No.
But
I
like,
don't think so, no.
Me and my friend, he's my friend that here's really a funny thing. I met this person because I organized a red pill screening in Minneapolis, and he showed up. And then I was like, oh hey, like if you're interested in like the same things I know, so let's hang out or whatever. And we started hanging out. We kind of became friends or whatever. And then like when I left for America, he was looking for a place to live in, and I was like, oh well, you know, since I'm leaving where I live, you can, if you want, you could totally move into where I was just living, right? And then you know, like you know my cat, he's cool, right? You know, like take over my rent, my lease or whatever. So basically, he just like took over like my entire. I just like sold him my car, like everything. It was like, here, take my car. Give me some arbitrary like tiny amount of money for it. It's a Honda Civic, so who fuck cares?
Did you sell me your ID as well? I mean, this seems like
basically,
a full-on here,
yeah,
take my
exactly,
life.
right? No, but yeah. So anyway, like, but anyway, me and him at one point, we'd heard there were like protests over at the state capitol in St. Paul in Minnesota. And we're like, hey, let's just go check it out. Like, we're not gonna go and like actually protest for one side or the other. We're just gonna go just kind of check it out just because it's like a public spectacle. And we were like walking around and like we saw like, oh my god, it was like crazy. The SJW like Antifa side people, they like, I saw that they grabbed this chick's phone who was trying to record them, and they threw it in the ground, like smashed it, right? And like we arrived kind of late, where like the people who were originally demonstrating, which there was a demonstration that had to do with like immigration, like they were demonstrating for like, we don't want more illegal immigration or whatever, which is like weird for Minnesota. I don't really even remember what the fuck it was. And then the anti-protesters were all outside protesting about how like we need to have Sharia law or whatever.
Yeah, no, Minnesota has I think
lots of Somalians.
Yes, it has
yeah,
one of the largest.
Actually, I did a video.
Muslim communities, one of the largest Muslim communities, if not the largest in the country.
Yeah, and it's because of the Somalians, and that's how Ilhan Omar became a thing. And actually, if you want more information about that, there's an old video on my channel about Jacob Frey, the Minneapolis mayor, that me and my fag hag did together. She's my big titty goth girlfriend, right? We did a video together, and it's very funny. I'm basically naked in it, like running around, and like I'm really fat. Like it's really funny. Like it's a great video. I highly recommend it. But anyway, we talk a little bit about the Somalian community because that's a big theme with Jacob Frey. And he's basically Justin Trudeau, but like for Minnesota. So that video is like a very unique like spectacle that I'm very proud to have put on YouTube. But anyway, basically like when I was there, we found an American flag like tussled in some bushes, right? And we were like, oh, let's fucking grab this flag. Why is this fucking flag in the bushes? So we just like, cool, we scored like an American flag, but we're just being dipshits, just like wandering around, just like seeing what's interesting, right? Just like a bunch of stoners, just like what's cool, what's happening. And we ran into these people who were the 3%ers, and they were very cool and very reasonable and had a lot of interesting things to say. And their whole shtick is that you need like 3% of the population to own guns and be trained in guns in order to keep your government in check, which honestly, I think they're lowballing it. I think it's a lot more than 3% that you're going to need. But hey, it's good to have a goal. It's good to start somewhere. And they were talking about how they're going to have events where, like, you know, you can meet with them and, like, you go camping with them and they help you shoot guns and, like, you learn about stuff or whatever. And, like, they learn about how you can, like, legally own guns. And they're very respectful, very reasonable. They seem very intelligent. And you know, they were nice to meet. And then we were walking down the street later. And because we were carrying the American flag, these SJWs accosted us and swarmed around us and threatened to beat us up in front of the cops who did nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was sitting here, and it was because my friend was wearing a fucking shirt with Pepe on it. Which was a funny shirt. It had like Pepe as like a "Don't Tread on Me" thing, as like a parody. And like literally they were threatening to beat him up over that shirt. And we're sitting here like, dude, like we didn't do anything, right? And like there's this like this fugly Indian girl who was with this guy who was like smiling all smugly. And it's like, If the man weren't here, I would beat the shit out of you. Like, I will hit a woman. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like,
see it.
Just,
I don't know if it's like event. Maybe I guess if I hate that discussion of privilege, but of the word privilege with things, because it's interesting. Because I had a more twink look way back in the day. But I have noticed with the look I have today, with who I am today, it's people generally are more avoiding of conflict when I'm in a disagreement in person.
Yeah, because the two of us, we weren't very imposing. We were obviously like
so,
World of Warcraft gamer twink nationalism, like wandering around. Like, it wasn't.
Yeah. So I mean, so imagine that same group then surrounding like a group of bears. To use a community reference, right? That probably wouldn't happen, or at least they would, because the only power these SJWs have, or the only tactic they tend to have, is the swarm. Right? If you've ever noticed, it's the swarm. That's because the majority of them are these skinny jean wearing college students living off mommy and daddy, or living, some living off the government, or just some in general. This tends to be the majority of them overall. So they really, one-on-one, they sure as hell won't start shit. This is what I've noticed. And I've known a number of them. I have yet to see one of them really they would yell when it's just one of them, throw fits, absolutely. But to really get physical, they generally avoid it when it's only one of them, or even sometimes two of them. It's only when the swarm mentality do they grow a pair, whether it's a pair of balls or a pair of ovaries, and say or attempt to get physical. And so for me, when it comes to that, I remember actually after the Charlottesville incident there, you remember that with the guy that ran down the woman with the car and stuff, ran his car into the crowd.
I honestly think he was totally justified, and I don't give a shit about Heather Hirely. I'm glad she's dead.
Well, I mean, the argument there was an argument to be made that they surrounded the car. They could have put him in a state of panic, and he responded to that because he was supposed to stay there as they busted into the car and dragged him out and all that shit. So there is an argument.
See,
to be
okay,
made there.
no, but that's not okay, because that didn't hold up in court. But like literally, my mental image, my power fantasy of it is he was in his car and Heather Hirely was standing in the middle of the road, fucking deer in the headlights, and he was like, fuck this fucking communist, fucking Soros-funded single mother-ass bitch. I'm gonna fucking run her over. And he fucking runs her car into her, and she goes, oh no, stop! God. And then she's dying, and he runs over, and he fucking like looks in his rearview mirror, and she's still twitching, and he fucking backs up and runs her over again and again and again. That's literally like, fuck her. I don't even fucking
You're right about what you said earlier. My relationship to you alone would prevent me from getting elected. No,
just disavow. Just disavow, and then I get to have my fantasy of like being opposition research.
He's my special friend that I'm trying to help. That's why we interact. No.
Yeah, there you go. You reach across lines. You're trying to get the Nazis on board with your progressive policies.
But it was it was funny though, because it was interesting during that time, right? Because there were a lot of protests nationwide following that, and there were some in my area. And by that point, this is the look that I have during that time. I like my country. Look, I like who I am in so many aspects now. I'm actually happy to be comfortable with myself overall. And it was interesting because I had a friend that was like, well, we should go to one of the protests. And I'm like, you can go, I'm not. And he was like, well, why? I'm like, okay, look at me. If I went with you, regardless of, whatever, what do you think would the assumption be? I guarantee you they would think that I was there counter to it as a alt-right individual. I guarantee you. And he's like, well, bring a pride flag with you and wave it. And I'm like, you realize how crazy that is, right? We fought for the right to be seen as any other American. And now I have to use the fact that I'm gay to announce that I'm not a threat to be welcomed in an environment. I'm like, you realize how crazy that is. And of course, this is a friend who later unfriended me actually recently once he found out I was a registered Republican, that I had changed parties. But it's just crazy. And that didn't really seem to set in with him. And it absolutely, but there's been other examples. There's one video that was covered by Akkad there. What's the full name there?
Sargon of Akkad?
Sargon of Akkad. He actually did a
How
video
do
clip
you forget
where...
Sargon of Akkad? He's like...
Sorry, I don't know why. I'm horrible with names. For some reason, I have always been horrible with names. I'll remember part of them.
Benjamin. Let's be real here. He's been
okay. It's all about the Benjamins. He did a video where he featured an incident where there was this protest with a bunch of leftists, Antifa types, and he's actually as part of the left-leaning group. He happened to be a white man who was bigger build and had bigger as in heavier set, if I recall correctly, and had a shaved head.
Oh, that one. That was so fucking weird.
Yes. And so they attacked him, and it was a black woman who's screaming pretty much, he's one of us, he's one of us. I was like, yeah, that is the mentality in the left right now. That not only is it you have to have their ideology, if you visually in any way to them resemble something that they have trained their mind to see as hateful and their enemy and a Nazi, they will come after you. Even if you have their views, they will absolutely come after you. And not only that, I mean, so yes, I have the redneck look, right? I also have this going on here, okay? So, yeah, no. So at the end of the day, absolutely
not. The whole of character thing Martin Luther King was dreaming about, it's dead on the left. It's completely dead.
It is dead. It is completely dead. King, I think, would be weeping. I think King would absolutely weep at what the left has done to his message. But on that note, it is 8 p.m. where I am. I do have to get going because I have to be up at 4 a.m. So it was great being on once again. And I look forward to streaming with both of you in the future.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm glad that you were able to hop on, and hopefully this won't have eaten into your sleeping time or your preparation. Hopefully you'll have a nice day at work. Yeah, I know you'll be cursing us the entire shift, but it's an essential shift. So,
and for anyone who might be interested in checking out my content, which I haven't made a video in months, don't worry, I am planning to change that. I just gotta give myself a kick in the freaking ass. I am on YouTube. I'm the Liberal Hammer, and on there I also have a link to my Twitter account as well, which I haven't been quite as active on there either recently. But hey, anyways, check me out there, and I will definitely be back, and I look forward to streaming with you boys later.
Yeah, keep it easy.
Be well.
Yeah, so I'm kind of scanning through this article here, and one interesting thing was, I guess part of the backlash is that people told her that she needs to stop teaching men how to rape, and she says, but wasn't it just the opposite? Wasn't our aim to take the power away from attackers and put it back in women's hands? Which really it should have been in women's pants. Like, I'm disappointed at this word choice here. And they have a letter T with like a... Okay, you know how in books, when they start like a section of a new paragraph with a letter, they'll do like a fancy version of the capital letter to replace it? They're trying to do that in this article with this like fancy transhumanist T, but then it starts with the word there. So like the T is just retarded. It just like shouldn't even be there.
It's a double T.
It's just a rebel. Yeah, it's just a rebel T, just like hanging out here.
It is symbolic for the transgender struggle. You just don't realize it.
Okay, so Korea Man, Camo Man is not the liberal hammer. Camo Man, his name is Ken, who's also a gay man, but Camo Man is active in like the men's rights kind of circles, whereas Liberal Hammer was kind of more focused on political content, and he was part of MAGA One Radio. They had that for a while. It was like him, Melissa Carley, who like became an unironic fucking communist like a year ago out of nowhere and like stopped being friends with me for no reason. And then Valen, who stopped being friends with me because he got pissed at Prince of Queens for calling him out for claiming that like Jews owned all the slaves in America, which was like ridiculous. like I'm very sympathetic to people who
All
want
the
to
slaves.
it was
What?
that it was like disproportionate or something like ridiculous, or that it was most of them and like it may have been disproportionate but it was not a majority or whatever, and it was like a stupid like
Okay, I've
Facebook.
actually heard like there was, compared to the amount of Jews, there was a disproportionate amount of Jewish slave owners, but not like compared to the totality of slave owners. Like, don't mix up your numbers, man. Like,
Yeah,
not you,
it was
this
like that
person.
kind of like a stupid mistake, and like they had a falling out over it. So then Valen like blocked me on Facebook also because like everybody just fucking blocks me. I found out there's like a pair of like Jewish convert disabled queer art creators, and like they have a Patreon together, and I looked at their Twitters and one of them had blocked me, and I'm like, I don't even know who you people are. Like, the only reason I know who you are is because my big titty goth fag hag girlfriend sent me the link because she saw it on, like, Lao Cows on, like, Kiwi Farms, and I was looking into it, and then I find out, oh, they've already blocked me, so I'm just like, what did I even do? I mean, I guess there's no shortage of, like, potential answers to that, but I'm curious. Like, what did they
It
see?
was probably just like a Thanos situation. Like, they're like, you took everything from me, and you're like, I don't even know who you are. What the fuck, man?
Well, I might be on a list, too. I know that Fuentes blocked me, which is fair enough. I've made, like, I think at least 2 videos making fun of him. But I wish that he would hear me out. Because I don't dislike Nick Fuentes. Like, I'm kind of in Team Lady Maga, right? Lady Maga is like a diehard Nick Fuentes fan, which is like a thing with Nick Fuentes, is he has all these like gay and drag queen and fucking tranny fans who like love him. Like, maybe that's why he blocks us. Maybe that's why he doesn't want to fucking associate, because he's like, God damn it, you guys are hurting more than you help. Anyway,
Stop liking me, goddammit.
Stop liking me. You're the wrong people. I love that irony though, that you create this whole like construction of like this like Catholic nationalism that's super tradcon and like not pro-gay at all, and then it's just like all of these gay men just flock to it because they're like, oh, he's kind of cute. He's like sitting there trying to be like, God damn it. Like, I'm trying to find real supporters, not just like gay men who want to fuck me.
That's a good way to put it. Like, just take it as a compliment, man.
Right, just take it in stride. It's just, I don't know. I'm looking over this article and I'm wondering if there's going to be any substance to it. But oh, what is this? Earlier this year, an Indian engineer and entrepreneur named Shyam Chaurasia. God, these names ought to fucking have a law against them. Just fucking name. Shyam Chaurasia debuted an anti-sexual violence lipstick gun, which looks like a regular cosmetic but sets off a loud bang and alerts police when activated. That's kind of cool. I'm trying to imagine though, like you're about to rape a woman, and then she's like, wait, let me put on my lipstick before you rape me, and then it's this gunfire thing. And then we imagine that's going to do something other than, like, motivate the rapist to fucking murder your ass. You know what I mean? Like,
Also, in the times of, like, the pepper spray, in the purse kind of thing. Like, what rapist would let a woman grab something in her purse while he tries to rape her?
Yeah, I don't quite get it. Well, the other thing too is that, like, for example, with the rape X condom that I felt was relevant to bring up at the beginning of this, if you're like a rapist and you know that that's out there, you just check for it and then remove it. Or if you know you are a victim to it, you know, you're a man who's a rapist, raping a woman, and now your dick is full of these fucking barbs in your fucking dick. Like, literally the only thing you're gonna want to do is murder the woman. Like, it's just guaranteeing you're gonna fucking murder a bitch. You know what I mean?
Especially since
like,
they mistake like the kick to the balls, because your body, your brain overreacts to that because the balls are hurt. But if your dick is hurt, that hurts like a bitch, but there's no such overreaction, I assume. Like,
yeah,
you're not
that's a
gonna
good point.
puke if your dick is hurt.
Yeah, if you're gonna have like a violent, retaliatory anti-rape technology, it's got to go for the balls. You got to go for the balls if that's your strategy. And like, what if it's a gang rape situation? You know, if this is like a one-off thing that's going to go after one assailant, you know, the homies are gonna step in, and they're, you know, and what are you gonna do? Like, after your rape X condom mutilated one dude and incapacitated him in the best case scenario, are you hoping like the second dude goes for your underwear and then gets electrocuted, and then the third dude gets deterred by your fucking lipstick gun? Like, it's all just like, it's so goddamn absurd. Like, just from like an RPG perspective, this isn't adding up. These don't seem like reasonable precautions. Yeah, I'm trying to see. Oh, and then they also mentioned in 2019 an invisible ink stamp meant to mark assailants who grope women on public transport sold out in Japan within an hour of its launch. Now, this one is interesting because I've heard of this a long time ago, about there being an issue of like on Japanese trains, like men just groping women. It's a thing because it's like so crowded that like this would be a thing. But like, we don't know, what does this invisible ink stamp mean? Like, is it like it's on your ass cheek so that anybody who tries to grab you gets that mark on them? I can't imagine that's it. I would imagine it's more of just like a traditional ink stamp. But then you could just mark anyone with it. Like, how do you prove that they were like trying to grab at your junk? You know?
That's easy. You have to believe all women.
Oh, I forget. Because this is a misogynist space, so we forget these things that we're supposed to just fucking believe. Yeah, I mean, when I was in Japan very briefly, I rode the train back and forth or whatever, and it never seemed that crowded. I always had a place to sit, which was very strange because, like, in Hong Kong, you often don't have a place to sit, but even so, you have a place to stand, and it's people with like the wheelie cart things to carry all their shit because they're like tiny little old Asian ladies and they can't lift things, so they have their little wheelie carts, which is fine. That's like whatever. I just wish they wouldn't stand at the fucking entrance of the train when it's not their fucking stop, so I don't have to fucking walk around them every time. Like, I learned very early on that like, if you want to get on a train, don't stand at the front of the line if you're sure that it's not going to fill up. What you do is you actually kind of loiter around arbitrarily, let other people line up, and then once everybody else gets in, you get in as the very last person. And then that way, if you're only riding the train for like one stop, you guarantee that you're right by the door.
Damn, that sounds like some crowded trains, man.
You know, that's some 3D chess I play with the Asians. They can tell I'm doing it though because they're not retarded. They know like, oh, you're just hanging around by this like pillar here because you're gonna get in at the last minute so that you're by the thing. And I'm like, you're damn fucking right I am. I fucking woke up 10 minutes before I have to go to work, and it takes 5 minutes to get there by this method. So therefore, that's what I'm going to do. So there. Let me see. I feel like, what else in this article? In China, feminist activists have used blockchain technology to circumvent China's notoriously censored internet and post information about a decades-old case in which a Peking University student... What the fuck is this? Like, so in China, so feminist activists literally discovered what a VPN was in order to post about a girl committing suicide after she was allegedly sexually assaulted. Okay, that was like a retarded insert. In India, 3 engineers introduced underwear that would deliver up to 82 electric shocks when it detected unwanted force. I wonder how often, like, a woman wearing that underwear, she, like, has, like, diarrhea or something, like, sudden and unexpected, right? And she's, like, pulling down her underwear forcefully, and she just, like, gets electrocuted and then shits all over herself. But, like, she's in India already, so is it even a problem? Is that just normal? Like...
Maybe it doubles as a diaper. I don't know.
Detected unwanted force. Like, so if your rapist kind of gently removes the underwear, they can just avoid this. Sorry, is this stream just like an instruction manual for rapists to get around these transhumanist anti-rape technologies? It all seems so retarded. Oh yeah, here they mentioned the rape X. Wait. Yeah, it just... Yeah, another survivor of traumatic rape told AOS, if only I'd have teeth down there. And that's regarding, like, the Rape X condoms, which... It's stupid.
It's literally a quote from the very first article I ever saw about this. Like, this is some really lazy copy-paste.
Are you sure that this article about the Belgium health minister banning non-essential sexual activities of persons 3 or greater in indoor areas was fake? Because I want to believe this is real.
I kind of thought about it, and the quoted article that was defined as fake, that one had like orgies above 100 people or something in it. Like, maybe they just exaggerated what you actually did. I have to look this shit up, man.
Okay, because we'll play the game in the chat then. Because if it might not be fake, then, you know, we can play the game. Do you think this is fake or not? But just the concept is so fucking funny. Health Minister De Block announced today that, effective immediately, non-essential sexual activities of 3 people or more are banned in Belgium to combat the spread of COVID-19. Which, that's the cucked and blue-pilled name for it. It's SARS-CoV-2. Okay? Anyway, De Block said she was forced to act swiftly because of Belgium's reputation as the beer-drinking and group sex capital of Europe. Health Minister De Block did not ban single or 2-person sexual practices such as masturbation, anal or oral sex, or even bestiality. These measures apply only to human sexual contact, not human to animal. Okay, this is definitely fake if she's talking about animals. A 2018 survey revealed that more than 78% of Belgian couples openly practice wife swapping, a cultural trait that became common practice in the 19th century under the rule of King Leopold II. So, yeah, the whole the bestiality angle is kind of the giveaway that this is definitely fake, but just the concept's very funny that, like, you're allowed to have your threesomes and your orgies, but just make sure that all of the sex is, you know, essential, not non-essential.
Yeah, I couldn't find any of the source of her saying something similar but less crass, so it seems just like complete fabrication at this point in time, yeah.
Yeah, this is fake and very gay. Fake, late, and very gay. All those things. But what's funny about this though is it does highlight kind of the arbitrary nature of declaring things essential versus non-essential. You know? Like, I don't know. Like in a time of no health crisis, everybody says, "Oh, educating the children is the ultimate most important thing." And, guess who's been out of fucking work for, going on like fully 2 months fucking now, right? I'll have 1 day of work this month. I had 0 last month, and the month before I had an extended fucking Chinese New Year break, which has been, I guess, this entire thing. Like, I've never been unemployed this long before, and it's, like, insane, And it's like, I don't doubt that the parents, value their children's education. It's just they don't want them to fucking die, which, I get it. You don't want your kids to die. That makes sense. But, this whole narrative is it's like, turns out your children dying isn't more important or more non-essential than their fucking education, right?
Wait, so Hong Kong still isn't trying to get like all of those replacement systems, like you streaming to your students or the kids, like they don't do that yet? Like,
well, no, I mean we're gonna have some of
buzz.
that, but my thing is that I don't work for like a proper public school. I work for like an education center that does kind of supplemental like learning if they want to learn like extra English or phonics or things like that or extra grammar. So it's like extra lessons, right? Which is very, very popular here. It's very popular in Asia, to not just have your normal education, but to also add on top of it, some kind of supplementary whatever. So basically I teach ESL. It's an ESL kind of a gig, right? And we have recently developed a method for teaching online that just like we weren't ready to roll out because there wasn't that much of, I guess, an incentive to do that until recently. So yeah.
Oof. Yeah.
So if, I mean, but like the thing that pisses me off about my job is that I'm in a contract that says I have to give like 2 months notice if I want out of it without repercussion. And this whole thing is supposed to last that long. So I'm supposed to just sit here and wait. And they say they can suspend pay with no leave if the government officially tells them that they can't open a school, but I don't even think they were given an official thing that says they can't open because they're still opening like in a limited sense before all the schools open. So I think I probably have standing to be able to like sue them for fucking lost wages and for money and shit. But I just like I don't want to be that person. It's just like not natural to me. I prefer to like generally I prefer to just negotiate with the employer because I think that that's like a healthier and more like sane and socially like non-retarded way to go about things. But like human societies are so fucking infiltrated by government that it just rewards people who are absolute fucking asshole dickbags who just want to sue their employer over fucking nothing. And my employer isn't answering my goddamn emails, like basic fucking questions about the way the contract works or things like this, that it makes me want to just like sue them and just like fucking ruin them out of spite. Anyway. Hopefully,
understandable though.
Yeah, hopefully within a month this won't even be an issue. But like, I'm definitely not fucking renewing a contract with these cunts who can't do like basic fucking shit to like clarify things. Anyway, this article is, do I need to stop sleeping with new guys because of the coronavirus? And the funny thing is, I look at this and I mock it because it's so ridiculous. Because it's like, dude, just stop it. Just hold off on being a thought for like 10 goddamn seconds, But at the same time, I'm kind of like, well, I wouldn't mind getting some on the side or whatever, because I'm just like staying home all the time anyway. So I'm kind of like being a hypocrite. But, oh, is this like a conversation? I don't want to fucking read a conversation.
It's that one.
Yeah. Oh, I see. It's these fuckers like respond. It's like one of these like sex columns. So they have Rich and Stoya. So Rich.
I think I read that one. Like she's a porn star or something.
Okay, so do you want to read it? Do you want to read Rich, and I'll read Stoya?
Let me just get that link up. That will be fucking weird, but why not?
This is the Slate one.
Is it in the description? I just go to the Discord, I guess.
Oh yeah, it is in the description. But my description has like 20 goddamn links in it because I just put all the links in there without any descriptions. Don't libertarians love Stoya? I don't know what that means.
Fuck, there are short links. I'll check out the Discord. Where the fuck? The library.
Oh, I had this video of Bjork when she was a baby explaining her television, and I think that wasn't relevant to anything, so I can close that one. I'm gonna open, I wanted to feature as a reoccurring thing on the streams, cute baby animals on Twitter. My favorite was called God's Tiny Animals, and I can't find it. I don't know if they got yeeted or whatever. But this is a kitten in a little towel, and it looks like a burrito. And that's so cute. The best is when they kind of feature more exotic animals, like, oh, this is a lynx. That's a little baby lynx. I love the little things on their ears. They're so cute. Oh, this cat. This cat looks like it's wearing like a lion thing. I had a cat who was, I think his breed is a Turkish Angora. That's what he looks the most like. But he may just be, like in America, when the cats are, like, you can't tell what the fuck they are. You just call them either domestic short hair or domestic long hair. So he was either a Turkish Angora or a domestic long hair. And he was white. And he had like a little white patch like right under like his nose and his chin, and it made him look kind of like Hitler. And he kind of acted like a bossy little Hitler. But anyway, I would get him shaved like a lion. And he loved it. He loved having his big floofy mane and his little floofy tail. And he would act like a lion after he got shaved that way. But this cat is not digging it. Oh, this looks like a Russian blue. Those cats are so stinking cute. And they're actually, they're friendly. If you're allergic to cats, you can consider finding a Russian blue. But this one has the Scottish fold ears too. Oh my god, that's a Russian blue Scottish fold. That is frickin' adorable. That's like a little tiny baby bear. And I'm digging these like little kitten pictures. Did you find the article? It's the Slate one.
Oh yeah, I'm just being blind, I guess. This is the one with human interest.
Maybe. I'm just scrolling through pictures of
sleeping with new guys because of the coronavirus.
That's the one. Yeah. I just wanted to make sure you're still there just because you were quiet for so long. But this was good because I got to fit in the new segment of the show, which is looking at cute pictures of animals. That's pretty cute.
Yeah, I guess my brain was just being a bit slow. So.
This one is just all kittens, though. Like, cats really did take over the internet. Like, I love cats. Like, cats are great. Oh, this one's so cute. Oh, that's the winner. The little cat's posing with the little giraffe, and they look like the same. That's a very pretty cat, too. It's like a very symmetrical masking. I mean, not super symmetrical, but just off enough that it's you know. God, I wish I had a cat again so much. I fucking miss having a cat.
Yeah, I'm glad I have a cat, man. They are the adorable.
Crayman says the orange color cats look cute. Yeah, the orange ones are pretty. I mean, pretty much all of them are super cute though too. I really like I like Scottish fold cats, and I like and I don't know, pretty much all color of cats I like. I like black cats a lot. I feel like they're underappreciated because people think that they're like the devil or something. My little sister, has an all black cat. Like, he's just jet black, just like pure fucking black. And this cat looks very fancy. But like one time I was looking for him because I had to give him like some soft food or whatever. And I checked like under a bed and I was trying to find him and I just see nothing but darkness. And then all of a sudden just two eyes just appear. And I was like, holy shit. Because he's like that black that just like in the shadows, he just like, you can't see him if his eyes are closed. But yeah, my bossy little Kittler, he would like body slam doors and like in the morning he'd wake me up by like slapping me in the face. And like he knew the song that I listened to wake up to, which was Yankin' by Lady. I'm gonna play that because that's my favorite song. I'm gonna make everybody listen to it. Lady Yankin'. It's the greatest song of all time. Oh fuck, I want the music video, just a little bit of it. I'm just gonna jump into like the middle of it. Feel so good, feel like the rubber all fainted. You ain't gotta tell me, I know this pussy be yankin'. This pussy be yankin'. I know this pussy be yankin'. This pussy be yankin'. I know this pussy be yankin'. This pussy be yankin'. I know this pussy be yankin'.
But yeah, they don't need to have an audio prelude. They can just remember when you wake up then. Cats are smart.
I love her. What out this money? You can keep that confetti. That's the greatest song of all time, though. Is "Pussy Be Yankin'," "Yankin'" by Lady. Anyway, so that was enough of. Why are they all cats? Like the cats are cute. But, like, God's tiny animals would show baby animals of, like, all different kinds. And you'd be surprised at how cute some of these kittens, or not kittens, but, like, different... What is this? Oh, that's a human face. I thought that was, like, part of the cat at first, and I was really, like, freaked out. Duh. Okay. We got the article. Love in the time of etc. Which, that's a joke everybody's been making, right? Instead of, you know, love in a time of cholera, it's love in the time of corona.
Well,
okay, do you want to read the first line?
Creative, but
yeah, I know. It's not very creative. So you want to read Rich's lines? We'll just read through these. I'm not going to try to read it in a voice or anything. We'll just like... How long is this? Oh, it's not. It's very short. It's not too long. Okay. So the question is, do I need to stop sleeping with new guys because of the coronavirus? It's better than going to a party, right? So do you want to read Richard's first line, given how fast things are changing?
Oh, yeah. Why not? Yeah. Given how fast things are changing, I'm sure that this seemed more ambiguous just a few days ago when our writer sent it.
For sure. And you handled an earlier question last week.
Yes, and even that seems out of date at this point. It's pretty clear now that all interpersonal contact must be limited to the absolute necessity.
I know this is going to blow minds, but here goes. Sex in the short term is not a need. Definitely not in this case.
I agree. And expressing that feels at odds with everything we've been espousing for over a year in this column. But here we are. This is not about sex negativity. It's life or death for many people. It's about every individual's responsibility to help contain this virus.
Unlike, say, deciding to forgo a condom without proper testing, unnecessary interaction with the outside world right now could easily affect large amounts of other people.
Right. Even if you aren't concerned about the potential effects the virus may have on you, say, if you are a young and healthy person who could bounce back from it, you have to see yourself as a potential vector and limit contact with anyone outside of your immediate household.
Exactly.
Yeah, man, this guy has very weird phrasing, man. It's beyond sex. And the other point of doing this now is to shorten the amount of time we'll spend sequestered.
Yep, sequestered.
Never seen that one before.
The word, it comes from the law, right? Where you sequester witnesses, right? Which is that you don't want your witnesses to hear the other witnesses' testimony. So that's one way that word is used. So he's using it to be like, yeah, everything is like separately, not interacting.
Oh.
It's a little bit silly.
Okay. Give hospitals and researchers searching for a vaccine as much lead time as possible.
Reduce the strain on the health system.
This article has been my Bible in terms of what to do right now. I'm wondering if the permissive attitude toward going outside will change in the coming days. Right now, long walks are helping to keep me sane. I am staying 6 feet away from people.
I am used to long periods of time alone working from home, and because of my career in porn, I'm accustomed to not being able to have sex for extended periods of time. I think people are aware that sometimes the adult industry has a positive HIV result during regular testing and shuts down. It's called a moratorium. During those holds, while the test is confirmed and potential exposures are traced, we aren't allowed to shoot anything with the possibility of fluid transmission. Until performers know if we may have been exposed, it's a very bad idea to have sex. So I have some tips. Get a couple of different kinds of sex toys. Do sit-ups or push-ups or anything to help burn off that excess energy you aren't venting sexually. Skype or sext for erotic interaction. And then he says, speaking of porn, there's a trove of it online. Use it. And she says, yes. I don't know if there's anything else interesting in this article. I mean, pretty much their take on this is actually quite reasonable. I didn't realize this was going to be like, I've read through one of their articles before, but I don't remember what it was even fucking about, but it was like really infuriating. But anyway.
This is just very weird. I've read it the first time you posted it, and it's like, oh, if you are having sex without a condom with multiple people because it's your job, sometimes there's a chance that you can get HIV. So I'm used to being quarantined for not having sex. So you should be fine. Like, this is her actual business, man. You take risks when you interact in a business. Come on.
Yeah, well, and it's like if people are telling you like stay 6 feet away from other people, how is it not obvious that don't put your tongues in each other, don't be grabbing and sniffing and fucking each other's genitals and assholes and you know what I mean? It's just like it just goes without saying. So the idea that this person is just coming to terms with wait a minute, this includes sex? And it's like, bitch, it includes handshakes. What the fuck do you think sex is but a more complicated, intimate handshake? Goddamn.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going on 4 hours. I did just want to address this last thing here that I haven't got to, which is, I guess Madonna's lost her goddamn mind, which may not seem like news, but apparently a couple of years back she had a bizarre video she had posted before. So it's not even really new for Madonna, but hey, we have we have the coronavirus, so new stuff is happening.
True that.
Let me see. So this one was about a bizarre bathtub video where she calls COVID-19 the great equalizer. But then she also had a bizarre video of Vogue rendition as she self-isolates. So there's multiple weird videos. Why isn't there just a link to the video? I don't care what these people think about it. Let me see. Madonna has been sharing updates as she self-isolates with her family due to the coronavirus pandemic. Among them, a strange video of her singing her hit song Vogue. Fans were delighted, albeit bemused by the clip shared on Twitter, which shows Madonna singing a version of Vogue with the lyrics changed to discuss how she's having fried fish for dinner. That just sounds like normal, like weird, quirky shit. I'm gonna see if I can find the actual original. Madonna Vogue fried fish. Here we go.
Come on, go. Let's go eat some fried fish. Fried fish. Come on, Vogue, I can go. Let's go eat some fried fish.
Is that her? Really?
Cause there's no more pasta. Oh no. So we're gonna eat some fried fish.
I can't tell you until the delay shows me.
Yeah.
So that was Madonna on Instagram.
Was that Madonna really?
How rich you are.
Oh, this is the bathtub one. Awesome.
Famous you are. How funny you are. How smart you are. Where you live. How old you are. What amazing stories you can tell. It's the great equalizer. And what's terrible about it is what's great about it. What's terrible about it is it's made us all equal in many ways. And what's wonderful about it is that it's made us all equal in many ways.
So some people loved what Madonna had to say, but there was a lot of comments on her post that...
I don't care what this faggot has to say about it. Why are you talking? Oh my god, he just drones on. Okay, so there we go. Well, thanks to this guy for posting most of the videos, but I don't even care about the fucking article.
But is that actually her?
Apparently, yeah. She looks very Asian. It doesn't look like her.
I mean, I know Madonna kind of changes every 5 years, visibly, if you don't pay attention to her and just randomly see her. But I'm not sure this is Madonna. Could be.
Apparently it is. Like, the articles are about her and everything, and I guess it kind of looks like her, but just, like, the way her face looks, she looks so Asian. She looks so Asian that, like, it couldn't possibly be her. I don't know. I don't know. But honestly, I will say, I don't think these clips are that bizarre. I think it's much ado about nothing. Like, I totally get that. Like people are so used to, like, pop singers and celebrities being, like, totally filtered and perfected, and everything that they do has been edited meticulously to, like, present a certain thing. And, like, this age of social media where people just, like, post whatever the hell they want, and it's very, very raw, and it's not edited, and it's whatever. Especially when it's, like, live streamed. Like, I think people are getting more and more tolerant of just, like, people who are kind of offbeat and weird. And frankly, I invite it. I think that's a good thing. I also think her statement about this being a great equalizer is actually accurate and profound. Because that kind of is how things are. Is that if everybody has to stay in their home and just use the internet... You know, the internet is that equalizer in so many ways, that everybody has access to just, like, you know, the same kind of media. And that, like, you know, any famous artwork or music that you like or whatever, you can just find it on the internet. And it really is an equalizer in that way. So I don't quite... I think people are, yeah, just making much ado about nothing. I pro Madonna. I support Madonna. I'll white knight for Madonna. She looks great for her age. I love that in one of her music videos, she prominently features a Dance Dance Revolution machine. That speaks to me. So, yeah, I'll white knight for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? I just don't think anything was that, like... I was expecting something weirder. But,
Yeah, for Madonna, that's actually quite tame, in my opinion.
There's our transgressive take on that. Well, I'm a little bit tuckered. I'm a little bit tuckered, and... This has been a fairly robust stream, I think, and... Let's see, we covered politics... We covered economics. We covered Madonna. We covered dildos. Get your dildos on Amazon, you know, because you gotta keep that 6. You know, if keeping the 6 feet means getting an extra 6 inches in a dildo, then it's your duty. Stretch your dick. Stretch your dick every day. Everybody should stretch your dick. If you were circumcised, you should stretch your dick so that you can regain what was lost to an extent. If you were not circumcised, you should stretch your dick so that you have epic wizard sleeve foreskin for crazy docking action. So that's just a general PSA for all men. If you're a woman, you know what? Stretch your clit. Stretch your clit until you have a dick, and then you can be part of the transhumanist gay trapno state. So we all have dreams, and it all starts with stretching your dick. And I guess that's the message I want to end the stream on. Fleegan, do you have any last words? Anything else you want to say before I end the stream?
Actually, I couldn't have said it better. You just blew it out of the ballpark. I'm speechless.
All right, everybody have a nice day. Keep it easy. Put the word to the mother. Read your fucking Quran. China #1. And stretch your dick. Have a nice day.
Be well, everybody.